With this thing, Honey Bee.
And Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. Why you said?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions.
Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Learn about smart betting strategies with AnyBet. Bet wisely, enjoy responsibly, and maximize your success. The temperature by AnyBet is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the PMP is pledging to introduce a flat rate for water bills for senior citizens.
Mr. Speaker, we're going to introduce for our elders or senior citizens who are retired a flat rate for their National Water Commission water bills.
The opposition is also pledging an extension of the time frame graduates will have before they have to start repaying their student loans.
And the PMP says if it forms the next government, it will phase out the asset tax over a 5-year period.
Ambassador Audrey Marks appointed to the Senate.
Manufacturers Association says ongoing trade war between the United States and other countries could open opportunities for the Caribbean.
In news from the rest of the world, the Trinidad and Tobago nationals will no longer be able to travel to the United Kingdom without a visa.
Thousands of jobs expected to be cut after the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced the NHS in England will be abolished.
In headline sports, a sellout crowd is expected at the National Stadium to witness Argentine star Lionel Messi and his Inter Miami team take on Cavalier in the return leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, made his contribution to the budget debate in the House of Representatives this afternoon. He says the PMP should be credited for the country's macroeconomic stability.
The structural and fiscal reforms we implemented laid the groundwork for the positive macro stability we now enjoy. We birthed the economic stability.
You'll hear more from Mr. Robinson.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, do you think CARICOM leaders should give up their U.S. visas in defense of Cuba's medical program? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, we'll have analysis of Julian Robinson's contribution to the budget debate.
And at 8, it's Jamaican Dads with Dennis Brooks, Garth Williams, Marlon Campbell, and Floyd Green.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app. Available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, it's Thursday, March 13, 2025.
News at 5 is brought to you by KFC's Big Deal. Order through carry-out, drive-through, delivery, WhatsApp, or the new KFC Jamaica mobile app. KFC Big Deal. Anything for the taste.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. We begin with news out of the nation's parliament. The opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, says the Jamaica Labour Party has failed to meaningfully move the country forward in its near decade in government. Making his contribution to the budget debate today, Mr. Robinson chided the government for not delivering economic growth. He says this has left many Jamaicans worse off than when the government came to office. Robinson also sought to rubbish claims that the JLP is responsible for the country's current economic stability. Shaloy Smichael tells us more.
Low growth, low productivity. Mr. Robinson says this has been the legacy of the Holness administration after nearly a decade in government.
And at the end of the game, we have to assess the scores. And Mr. Speaker, I intend to assess the scores today. Over the past 9 years, we have witnessed a continuation of policies that have done little to lift Jamaica out of the low wage, low tech, low productivity, and ultimately low growth economic model. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, if we continue to tinker around the edges, which is what the government continues to do, our economy will remain stagnant. We're going to be trapped in a low value add, low income system that simply can't deliver a better quality of life for the majority of the Jamaican people.
The opposition spokesman says the government continues to rely on macroeconomic stability with no meaningful pass through to the Jamaican people.
Let's be clear, macroeconomic stability is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end, and that end must be higher sustained growth, which translates into better living conditions, not just for some Jamaicans, but for every single Jamaican. What we have seen with this government is an economy which remains structurally weak, with struggling industries and over-reliant on imports, with no real strategy for industrial expansion, export-driven growth, and the creation of high-value jobs. Mr. Speaker, if we continue with these short-term measures, the people may feel good only for today, but our long-term future will never be secured.
However, Mr. Robinson also dismissed the government's claim that it secured the country's economic stability. He credits the previous Portia Simpson Miller administration with providing the foundation upon which the JLP has built its current success. It's a foundation he says had to be rebuilt following the ruinous policies of the previous Bruce Golding administration. Mr. Robinson says the JLP's claim of rescuing the country from economic ruin is a false paternity.
So the macroeconomic fundamentals that are bearing fruit, now that returns on the structural and tax reforms which were implemented have led to higher revenues. And Mr. Speaker, it is because of those tax reforms that we implemented which led to efficiencies in tax collections, which have seen tax collection increase over a significant period of time and higher revenues for the government. So, Mr. Speaker, they can't claim paternity for fixing the economy. And if they try to claim paternity, we would call it a jacket. We would call it a jacket.
He also sought to assure the Jamaican people that the next PNP government will be the one to bridge the gap between macroeconomic stability and actual benefits to Jamaicans. Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Robinson pledged that a future PNP government would introduce a flat rate for the bills of senior citizens who are customers of the National Water Commission, NWC. This was one of a number of initiatives the opposition says it would implement to ease the economic burden of the Jamaican people.
I now want to move to how we plan to help those senior citizens, those who are 65 and over. Mr. Speaker, we're going to introduce for our elders or senior citizens who are retired a flat rate for their National Water Commission water bills. A flat rate. So every Jamaican 65 or over will benefit from a capped flat rate that will help to ease the financial burden. They have, and it is not going to be one rate across the board because people have different consumption patterns, right? And so you work out, and we will work out what that rate.
Robinson also pledged to extend the amount of time tertiary graduates have before they are required to start repaying their loans from the Students' Loan Bureau. He says the period will move from 6 months to a year. Mr. Robinson says this will be coupled with an income-based repayment system.
Let's say you borrowed $5 million and your repayment is $30,000 a month, but you haven't gotten the kind of job that allows you to pay the $30,000 a month, but you're paying $20,000 every month, right? And the reality is that if you look at the unemployment data, it doesn't say this, but we have a large percentage of what you call underemployment. People who are in jobs below their experience and qualifications. The challenge with the system right now is that even though you're paying the $20,000 that you can afford every month, you are considered delinquent and in default. We are going to reform the Student Loan Bureau so that we can do away with that categorization of delinquency and being in default.
Julian Robinson, opposition spokesman on finance.
And the opposition spokesman says the PNP will introduce a competitive tender for government deposits to break the monopoly of the National Commercial Bank, NCB, and Scotiabank. He says this will allow other banks to benefit from much-needed capital and drive down interest rates for small businesses.
The problem, Mr. Speaker, is that we have a highly concentrated banking sector. And the reason that interest rates are not moving down is because the sector lacks real effective competition. The one leverage that the government has, the ministries, agencies, and departments of the government hold about 10% of the total deposits in the entire banking sector. And our commitment, Mr. Speaker, is to introduce competition for those deposits. Because the majority of the deposits now go to the two big banks. And there have been historic reasons for that. But we are going to introduce competition for those deposits, an auction system, so that the smaller banks can get some of those deposits.
Mr. Robinson also vowed to phase out the asset tax paid by financial institutions over a 5-year period. He says this will be twinned with negotiations for the reduction of burdensome banking fees for Jamaicans.
So we're going to have to sit down and say, if we're going to phase out the asset tax, which you've been calling for, you're going to have to look at those fees that you charge customers. Those fees which, when you go to an ATM, there are a whole host of. So we are saying we will phase out the asset tax, but we are going to have a discussion about bringing those fees down so that we can deal with the cost to customers of those services.
Julian Robinson, the opposition spokesman on finance. He was making his contribution to the budget debate in the House of Representatives this afternoon.
Ambassador Audrey Marks has been appointed to the Jamaican Senate. The office of the Prime Minister made the announcement in a media release on Thursday. Ambassador Marks has been serving as Jamaican ambassador to the United States and permanent representative to the Organization of American States since 2016. She previously held the top diplomatic post in the Jamaican Embassy in Washington, D.C. from 2010 to 2012. She was Jamaica's first female ambassador to the United States. Prior to her appointment as a diplomat, Ambassador Marks founded Paymaster Limited in 1997. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of the West Indies and a postgraduate degree from Nova University in Florida. In recognition of her contributions to national development, she was awarded the Order of Jamaica in 2024. The Prime Minister has congratulated Ambassador Marks on her appointment to the Senate. He says he looks forward to her continued contributions to nation building. Meanwhile, nationwide news sources say former police commissioner and Army Chief Major General Anthony Anderson is the front-runner to succeed Marks in Washington, D.C. No official announcement has yet been made from Jamaica House or the Foreign Ministry on the matter. Calls placed to General Anderson's mobile phone on Thursday were not answered.
The country's fiscal commissioner, Courtney Williams, is urging the government to adjust the wage negotiation period to better align with the budget cycle. Mr. Williams says the government has already committed to the adjustment as part of the country's fiscal rules, but has delayed making the necessary changes.
The situation now is that new wage rates are due April 1. Negotiations have just about started, and there are some of the negotiations which haven't yet started. So you get to the start of the fiscal year, and there's uncertainty as to how those negotiations will end, what kind of set settlement you will get. So yes, the government has a contingency provision. That contingency provision, they would have assumed a certain wage increase. What if you have a situation where the settlements end up higher than what the government plans for, which has happened in the past?
The Holness administration has started a fresh set of wage negotiations with the public sector, with 11 unions already submitting statements of intent. The government has set aside approximately $33 billion to settle with the unions in the estimates of expenditure for the coming fiscal year. However, it's uncertain how this sum will be affected when the negotiations are completed. The Fiscal Commissioner is suggesting that the government begin the process in January with a ceiling of 5 months to complete it ahead of the next fiscal year. Mr. Williams says with greater certainty in the country's economic and fiscal affairs, unions and the government should have the confidence to settle ahead of the country's budgetary period.
We are pretty much certain that given the situation, the strength of the reserve now, and the resolve of the Bank of Jamaica, we won't see the kind of depreciation that used to happen 15 or 20 years ago. So the macroeconomic stability actually gives the government, put the government in that position, as well as the unions, to say the likelihood of erosion of those wage settlements would be much less reduced. So we don't have to have the situation where those wage negotiations drag on as long as they used to in years gone by.
Courtney Williams, the Fiscal Commissioner.
Meanwhile, the Fiscal Commissioner says a performance-based pay structure in the public sector would be an effective way to address concerns about the impact of tax revenue.
That could help, and there was actually a performance-based structure in terms of the increment. But the increments were suspended during the implementation of compensation restructuring. So the increment should have been based on performance. What the government is thinking of is revamping the previous performance management appraisal system with a new system where they seek to better link payment of increment to performance. So there's that portion that would still be there. So outside of a negotiated sum with the union, there would also be that performance link, which is kind of tantamount to like some kind of promotion. Or if you perform based on your assessment, then you get an increment or two, or whatever the new system going to be. So I don't think it's necessarily either or, but I see both can actually work in tandem.
Courtney Williams, Fiscal Commissioner. Finance Minister Favour Williams told Parliament on Tuesday that the fresh round of wage negotiations will focus on greater efficiency and performance-based pay for the public sector. The initiative forms part of the government's plan to improve the country's efficiency and productivity level. Minister Williams says the government has already begun conversations with the relevant union partners.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
29 degrees Celsius here in Kingston, 28 out west in Montego Bay.
I pursue opportunities.
I prepare for opportunities.
I plan for opportunities.
With Sagicor e-Invest, you can prepare, plan for and pursue IPO opportunities. Browse IPOs, review IPO details and prospectuses. Select and apply for a featured IPO. IPO with Sagicor e-Invest. Think wealth. Visit sagicor.com.
Continuing the news, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, Sidney Thwaites, says the ongoing trade war between the United States and other countries could open multiple trade opportunities for the Caribbean. Mr. Thwaites offered his perspective on the ongoing trade saga while speaking on Cliff Hughes Online today. Mahiri Stewart reports.
The United States and Canada have announced retaliatory tariffs in an escalating trade dispute. The back and forth started on February 1, when the U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order imposing 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. Canada responded a day later with retaliatory tariffs. Mr. Thwaites says the JMEA is keeping an eye on the developments to gauge how it will affect trade in the region.
We're engaging not only the specialists that we have in the JMEA, but also with the other organizations locally and internationally to try to understand what the impacts are. While we don't have clarity yet on what those impacts are, we believe that there are going to be some challenges associated with the changes in the tariffs that could change the flow of goods and products, which always has some adhesions.
However, the JMEA president says there may be opportunities for Caribbean countries. He says the back and forth has the potential to provide the region with new trade markets. He says Jamaica has several existing advantages.
Also, we're fairly sure that there are going to be some opportunities that come out of this as well. So what we're telling our companies to stay close to the issue, try to understand what the signs of changes are going to be, remain agile, remain opportunistic. Jamaica enjoys a great transshipment hub. Our connectivity to the region is as good as anyone in the region. Our service is great. I get to Colombia in a day, Damrep in 3 days. We have advantages, so nearshoring is not going to go away. If anything, with the trade wars and the tariffs, that's going to get more important. How do we play, and our companies and our country play a role in that going forward?
Mr. Thwaites says discussions between CARICOM and the U.S. are taking place in order to stabilize trade agreements. He adds that the resistance by Canadians to buy American products provides gaps that Jamaica can fill.
There's discussions between the CARICOM and the U.S. to re-engineer our trade agreements to make sure, with all this uncertainty, that at least the relationship with the CARICOM and the U.S. is a secure one. So those discussions are happening, and we're staying close to it, and we're advising on it.
Clearly, one of the opportunities would be Canada, where the Canadians, something massive is happening in Canada, where Canadians have gone very sour on the U.S. They are not buying anything American if they can avoid it. They are huge consumers of rum, for example. That must be a big opportunity for we here in Jamaica.
Massive. And things like those are going to drop out of this.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Trinidad and Tobago nationals will no longer be able to travel to the United Kingdom without a visa. According to the British High Commission in Trinidad and Tobago, the move will go into effect immediately. It says nationals will have to apply and pay for visas if they wish to travel to the UK, even if it's in transit to another destination. Citizens will need a direct airside transit visa if transiting via the UK. However, those with an existing electronic travel authorization and already have a confirmed travel booking can still enter visa-free until April 23. The British High Commission says nationals are no longer eligible to travel under the ETA due to misuse of the British immigration system by asylum seekers. It says there has been a significant increase in the number of unjustified asylum applications by Trinidad and Tobago nationals at the UK border. Previously, Trinidad and Tobago nationals only required the ETA, which was introduced in January for all visa-exempt nations.
And thousands of jobs are expected to be cut after the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced that the National Health Service, the NHS in England, will be abolished. Starmer made the announcement today. The NHS, which oversees the country's health service, will be brought into the Department of Health. According to the Prime Minister, the move would free up money for frontline services. The government said it expected around half of the jobs at NHS England and the Department of Health to go. As of December, the total number of staff amounted to over 17,000. The move partially reverses a Conservative-led reorganization of the health service in 2012, which created NHS England to handle the day-to-day runnings. But the government says that NHS England has burdensome layers of bureaucracy without any clear lines of accountability.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the PMP is pledging to introduce a flat rate for the water bills of senior citizens.
The opposition is also pledging an extension of the time frame graduates will have before they have to start repaying their student loans.
And if it forms the next government, the PMP says it will phase out the asset tax over a 5-year period.
Ambassador Audrey Marks appointed to the Senate.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by KFC's Big Deal. Order through carry-out, drive-through, delivery, WhatsApp, or the new KFC Jamaica mobile app. KFC Big Deal. Anything for the taste.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For more
TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently? But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake?
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait. I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
It's tax season. Time to reach for your checkbook or dole out the cash. Or maybe not. Discover an easier way to pay your taxes. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. You'll get a 1-month payment holiday, up to 55 days interest-free, and unlimited rewards points on every dollar you spend. Discover how easy and convenient it is to pay your taxes with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. Don't have a Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card? Visit Sagicor.com to apply for yours today. Conditions apply.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Good afternoon with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We start with football as we join Wayne Walker at the National Stadium for a report ahead of the 7 p.m. start of the CONCACAF Champions Cup return leg tie between Jamaica Premier League and Caribbean Cup champions Cavalier and Inter Miami. Wayne, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alric. Well, fortunately for me, I've gotten onto the precincts of the stadium, and things are moving at pace. In fact, I wouldn't say it was smooth sailing coming down to the stadium, but it can get a little hectic. It was sort of simmering. It was building. You could see the potential for people who have left their offices or homes late, have a possibility of not even seeing the game, and for most of the parking areas that we're so accustomed to here at the stadium have been taken. In fact, I'm sitting in the media center right now, the media parking area, but they've taken that away from the media. And they've asked them to park northerly to the grandstand, and so they've made a different arrangement for the media. Luckily, I was given the possibility of parking inside here in a picnic. But it is that kind of day. It's very cold, which is very good. The lights are already on, the 4 towers. All the lights on the 4 towers are on already. And normally that doesn't happen at 5:20, 5:25, 5:30 for events like these. And it just gives you the impression that they've taken this very, very seriously. Of course, we were here this morning, and the sort of activation that we saw, it leaves you with there's absolutely no question about what's taking place here. I think that the Inter Miami team is leaving their hotel shortly. They have outriders, so they're not going to have problems getting here. I think Cavalier left the Marriott Hotel at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So they should be here already. Of course, Alec, you know the setup here in where the players are going to come and where they're going to disembark and where they're going to go and so on and so forth. I've not yet gone inside the National Stadium, so I'm not able to tell you what is happening inside in terms of the early turnout. But it is shaping up to be one fantastic, afternoon into the evening here at the National Stadium. And of course, in the next report at 6:05, I'll definitely give you a bit more. This time I'll be in the stadium and I'll be able to paint a better picture. But I can tell you, it is simmering. It is going to be a fantastic night, irrespective of the outcome of the game tonight, for sure.
Okay, Wayne, thanks much.
All right, no problem.
Wayne Walker with a live report from the National Stadium. We continue with football as second place Arnott Gardens beat 10-man Dunby Holding 4-1 in the Ryan Never Jamaica Premier League at the Anthony Spalding's complex today. Meanwhile, Harbourview beat Chapelton Maroons 3-0, 10-man Montego Bay United beat Vere United 2-1, and Racing United beat Waterhouse 3-0. Now to cricket, as batting a second time, Jamaica Scorpions reached 110 for 2 at Stumps on day 2 of the West Indies Regional 4-Day Championships against the West Indies Academy at Coolidge Cricket Ground. Brandon King 58 and Javel Glenn 20 are the not-out batsmen. Earlier, the Academy men were bowled out for a first innings 211. Caroline Bowen Tuckett made 57, BK Joseph 54 and Teddy Bishop 30. Jay Seals and Brad Barnes picked up 3 wickets each. Scores in the match so far: Jamaica Scorpions 375 and 110 for 2, West Indies Academy 211. Over at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, Leeward Islands Hurricanes reached 94 for 1 in their second innings against the combined campuses and colleges. Mackay Lewis 34 and Casey Carty 16 are the not-out batsmen. Surprisingly, CCC declared their first innings on 170 for 9 in response to the Leewards 425 in their first innings. Alzari Joseph picked up 6 for 35 and Justin Greaves bagged 2 wickets. Meanwhile, Guyana Harpy Eagles reached 159 for 3 against Windward Islands Volcanoes at Providence Stadium. Captain Tevin Imlak is unbeaten on 40 and Kemal Savory 46 not out. Earlier, the Windwards were bowled out for 213 with Jamie Salazano top scoring with 83. Vio Samuel Pamal took 4 wickets, Gudakechi Moti 3 and Kevin Sinclair 2. And Trinidad and Tobago Red Force beat Barbados Pride by an innings and 56 runs at the Kensington Oval. Chasing 178 to ensure the Red Force bat again, the Pride were bowled out for 121. Kamara Rhodes 21 made most runs. Anderson Phillips took 4 wickets, Joshua James 3 and Jaden Seals 2. Earlier, Trinidad and Tobago were bowled out for 263. Camille Puran top scored with 60 and Amir Jangu made 56. Final scores: Barbados Pride 86 and 121, Trinidad and Tobago Red Force 263. I'm Alex Ribby, and that's your sports.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:31.
For women standing tall and strong, Sagicor celebrates International Women's Day all month long. For her day, her deals. 7,500 bonus points on new Sagicor Bank credit cards. Special rates on auto loans and mortgages. Discounted trading fees from Sagicor Investments. A free dash cam or tire inflator with Ultimate Woman Auto Insurance from Advantage General Insurance. Plus, tailored products like our Sagicor Life Total Woman Life Insurance Plan. Accelerate action towards financial empowerment. Call 888 Sagicor. Conditions apply.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3-piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot.
Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Yes, it's tax time. March 17 is the due date for your income tax returns. Self-employed individuals are required to file their annual returns SO4 and estimated return SO4A. The income tax, education tax, NHT, and NIS due and payable on one return. Companies are required to file the ITO2, which is the annual return, and the estimated return ITO7. Visit jamaicatax.gov.jm or call 888-TAX-HELP for details. Tax Administration Jamaica, working together to serve you even better.
Digicel, live life your way, no free what? Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua, with round-trip flights on us. Every week you could win exciting prizes: event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
For women standing tall and strong, Sagicor celebrates International Women's Day all month long. For her day, her deals. 7,500 bonus points on new Sagicor Bank credit cards. Special rates on auto loans and mortgages. Discounted trading fees from Sagicor Investments. A free dash cam or tire inflator with Ultimate Woman Auto Insurance from Advantage General Insurance. Plus, tailored products like our Sagicor Life Total Woman Life Insurance Plan. Accelerate action towards financial empowerment. Call 888-SAGICOR. Conditions apply.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multilink, access every time, everywhere I go. Multilink, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multilink. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy. Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network. Multilink, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink?
Good evening, good afternoon rather. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
My name is Sanjay Lewis. How are you, Ricardo?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm well. Well, it's time, it's cover story time, and our focus this afternoon is on that budget presentation by the opposition spokesperson on finance, Julian Robinson. And he made his contribution in the House of Representatives on Thursday. And he says low growth and low productivity has been the legacy of the Holness administration after nearly a decade in government.
Mr. Speaker, the context in which we are having this debate is one defined by the Holness administration's nearly decade-long tenure and the undeniable fact that 14 of the last 18 years, the Jamaica Labour Party has been in charge of the government. This is the government's 10th budget, the third Minister of Finance. They are in their second innings, and in the second innings, you're coming to the end of the game. And at the end of the game, we have to assess the scores. And Mr. Speaker, I intend to assess the scores today. Over the past 9 years, we have witnessed a continuation of policies that have done little to lift Jamaica out of the low wage, low tech, low productivity, and ultimately low growth economic model. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, if we continue to tinker around the edges, which is what the government continues to do, our economy will remain stagnant. We're going to be trapped in a low value add, low income system that simply can't deliver a better quality of life for the majority of the Jamaican people. Mr. Speaker, low productivity remains one of our biggest obstacles to growth. And without serious investment in skills training, innovation, modern infrastructure, we will never break from the cycle of mediocrity. Mr. Speaker, Tuesday's budget presentation from the Minister was more of that approach that has left Jamaica stuck in low growth but high hardship. We heard no serious coordinated strategy to grow the economy. No aggressive push to improve productivity. Mr. Speaker, what we heard was more tinkering around the edges.
Julian Robinson there, he says the government continues to rely on macroeconomic stability with no meaningful pass-through to the Jamaican people.
Mr. Speaker, we're not here to tinker at the edges. We're here to lead with real solutions that put the Jamaican people first. Mr. Speaker, the government boasts of macroeconomic stability while people's quality of life continue to go down. Stability without meaningful transformation is simply never enough for where we need to be in our economic development. And Mr. Speaker, we are not knocking macroeconomic stability. We can't, and we would never do so. We understand the value of it. And in fact, it was the last PMP administration from 2012 to 2016 that laid the foundation for the macroeconomic stability and the foundation that we enjoy today. But let's be clear, macroeconomic stability is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end. And that end must be higher sustained growth, which translates into better living conditions, not just for some Jamaicans, but for every single Jamaican. What we have seen with this government is an economy which remains structurally weak, with struggling industries and over-reliant on imports, with no real strategy for industrial expansion, export-driven growth, and the creation of high-value jobs. Mr. Speaker, if we continue with these short-term measures, the people may feel good only for today, but our long-term future will never be secured. It is time to secure our long-term future of higher growth, higher wages, and a better quality society for all Jamaicans. The government has demonstrated by their tinkering that they don't understand the long-term assignment that is required to transform the Jamaican economy. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The economy needs a transformative vision and creative leadership, not just some piecemeal strategies.
Meanwhile, Mr. Robinson pledged that a future PNP government will extend the amount of time tertiary graduates have before they are required to start repaying their loans from the Students' Loan Bureau.
The cost of living crisis is one of the greatest challenges facing Jamaica today. The harsh reality is that what the average Jamaican can afford today is less than what they could in 2016. And notwithstanding the challenges in the global economy, it is a fact that the failure to grow the economy has put us in a position where many Jamaicans are simply struggling and living hand to mouth. It's not just food and household goods that have become more difficult to afford. Electricity bills, water bills, all of them have become more difficult. The People's National Party plans to address the cost of living crisis in a three-tiered approach, tackling the issue in the short, medium, and long term to provide immediate relief, ensure economic reform, and drive sustainable growth. In the short term, to address the cost of living crisis, we are proposing targeted policies that will cater to different demographics. One, the young people, secondly, parents with children, and then the elderly. Mr. Speaker, first commitment we're doing, we're going to extend the post-graduation moratorium for students who borrow money from the Student Loan Bureau. Yes. And the reason we're going to do that, many of those who graduate need more time to settle themselves in the workforce. Yes. Giving them an additional 6 months will allow them that time to get the kind of job, and to be able to start the repayment. So that's the first commitment, Mr. Speaker. We're going to extend that moratorium by 6 months. The second commitment, Mr. Speaker, is that we are going to introduce a structured system that will allow borrowers to renegotiate their payments based on their level of income. The opposition leader has spoken to that already. And I'm going to explain why this is important. So, and I'm going to use some round figures. Let's say you borrowed $5 million and your repayment is $30,000 a month. But you haven't gotten the kind of job that allows you to pay the $30,000 a month. But you're paying $20,000 every month, right? And the reality is that if you look at the unemployment data, it doesn't say this, but we have a large percentage of what you call underemployment. People who are in jobs below their experience and qualifications. The challenge with the system right now is that even though you're paying the $20,000 that you can afford every month, you are considered delinquent and in default. And you're still paying the $20,000. And with the advent of the credit reporting systems, it means that those students are now confined to bad credit scores. So if they want to buy a car or if they want to buy a house, they have a very bad credit score. We are going to reform the Student Loan Bureau so that we can do away with that categorization of delinquency and being in default. So that not on an ad hoc basis, we will formalize it. You have to show your pay slip. You can't just come in and say, I can't pay the $30,000. You have to demonstrate what your income levels are. And once you maintain that and you're paying whether it's 20, you won't be considered in default, so that your credit score won't be affected and it won't impact your ability to deal with. That is our commitment number 2.
Julian Robinson there, the opposition spokesman on finance. We're up on the break, but just before we go to the break, confirmation has come on an item of news that we reported at the top of the 5 o'clock bulletin. Major General Anthony Anderson has been announced as Jamaica's new ambassador to Washington, D.C. He's to replace Ambassador Audrey Marks, who will be coming home to take up a position in the Senate. Of course, listeners, you'd recall that Major General Anderson was the police commissioner and also the head of the army. The foreign minister is quoted as saying that she's very pleased that General Anderson will assume the role at a time when Jamaica looks to strengthen its security partnerships. His leadership and expertise will also be critical in advancing Jamaica's wider priorities, fostering deeper collaboration with the United States while engaging strategically within the OAS. He will build on the strong foundation laid by Ambassador Marks, whose service has been instrumental in advancing the bilateral agenda. So again, news has come confirming that former Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson will succeed Ambassador Audrey Marks as Jamaica's ambassador to Washington, D.C. Of course, Sanjay taking up the position at a critical time in our relationships with the United States. Of course, President Donald Trump, the movements on Cuba, how he sees CARICOM, it's a lot. So the Major will be going there at a very interesting time. And of course, Audrey Marks coming home to take up an appointment in the Jamaican Senate.
And you know, Ricardo, especially at a time when you're dealing with a Trump administration, that you have to understand the maneuvering in the diplomatic circles to deal with a Donald Trump administration.
But I tell you something, perhaps it's a good thing that a former army chief, former commissioner is going at that time. Donald Trump seems to respect tough guys. Yeah. So maybe there's some sense to it. Yeah. We'll take the break. Come back with more.
Clear your barrels and personal shipments with ease and convenience. Request a customs contactless clearance today through CCP at jca.gov.jm. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:47.
March into savings with ATL's March Madness Sale. Get up to 50% off select appliances, electronics, and hard-to-find parts all month long. Upgrade your home and business with everything you need at unbeatable prices and best quality brands. Shop in store at Kingston, Ocho Rios, and Montego Bay. Or beat the traffic and buy online at atljamaica.com and get aisle and wider delivery. ATL, the best brands and the best service. Sale ends March 31 while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. Vehicles using the automated T-Tag lane are processed in seconds, so you can pass through the toll plazas far quicker. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3-piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot. It's a big deal.
Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
I pursue opportunities.
I prepare for opportunities.
I plan for opportunities.
With Sagicor e-Invest, you can prepare, plan for and pursue IPO opportunities. Browse IPOs, review IPO details and prospectuses. Select and apply for a featured IPO. IPO with Sagicor e-Invest. Think wealth. Visit sagicor.com.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. We're bringing you excerpts of Julian Robinson's contribution to the budget debate. He made his contribution this afternoon in the House of Representatives, promising, I think he called them pledges or commitments, that a future PNP government would enact, he says, to ease the cost of living and the burdens on Jamaicans. One of those pledges, he's pledging to introduce a flat rate for the bills of senior citizens who are customers of the National Water Commission.
I now want to move to how we plan to help those senior citizens, those who are 65 and over. Mr. Speaker, we're going to introduce for our elders or senior citizens who are retired a flat rate for their National Water Commission water bills. A flat rate. So every Jamaican 65 or over will benefit from a capped flat rate that will help to ease the financial burden. They have, and it is not going to be one rate across the board because people have different consumption patterns, right? And so you work out, and we will work out what that rate.
That's Julian Robinson. In the meantime, Mr. Robinson promised to introduce the Ensuring Adequate Sustenance for Education, EASE program for needy students.
One of the biggest financial burdens on struggling families is the daily cost of sending their children to school. Not just the bus fare, but the lunch money. Many parents simply can't afford it. And for too many children, this means inconsistent attendance or children going to school hungry. And when they go to school hungry, they can't focus. They can't learn. And ultimately, they're unable to achieve their full potential. Mr. Speaker, we are going to implement the EASE program. EASE means ensuring adequate sustenance for education. Ensuring adequate sustenance for education. The opposition leader 2 budgets ago said we needed to ease the pressure. Yes. We are going to ease the pressure on the needy students. Our third commitment is that the EASE program, our third commitment is that the EASE program will guarantee that every needy student from primary to secondary school receives 1 nutritious meal per day at school, with a long-term plan to expand that to include breakfast. This is a solution that will put money back in the pockets of the parents who are already struggling. Now, I expected what I heard. I heard that. That's the point. We know that there are students on path who get the benefit. But every MP in here knows that there are thousands of others who are not on path who don't get any benefit. Outside of path, who don't get the benefit. We are saying, Mr. Speaker, that once you are in need, for those on the PATH program, but even for those who are not on the PATH program, will guarantee you one nutritious meal per day. Now, Mr. Speaker, we're going to phase in the EASE program, ensuring an efficient rollout that maximizes the impact while maintaining fiscal responsibility. The opposition leader will address the transportation plan in his presentation. But let me say this, if you can't afford the lunch money, more than likely you can't afford the bus fare either. And too often, many of us in our own constituencies, we will see children at home on a school day. And when you ask a parent why them can't go, and them just say, but I don't have the money to send the picnic to school. That is the reality of too many of our children. So our commitment is to ensure that every needy student, those on path, but those who are not, get one meal per day.
And that's Julian Robinson speaking in the parliament. You know, Ricardo, every parliamentarian or politician, I should say, come with some acronym, eh? EASE. Is the hit thing now?
It seems to be the season for it. We aspire, we reach, we spark.
Oh, God.
And now we ease.
And now we ease. Well, he also says the next PNP administration will restore the Public Sector Monitoring Committee.
Mr. Speaker, I want to go to public sector and public sector negotiations. Mr. Speaker, I sympathize with every public sector group that has to endure the government's approach to wage negotiations. The way the administration has handled the review has led to protests, frustration, and public outcry. There was problem with teachers over graduate pay and retirement age. We have seen groups of doctors, junior doctors, consultants who have had to take industrial action in recent time in defense of the items they have agreed on. We have seen agitation from other groups, UTEC staff, as well as firefighters and correctional officers. At the heart of the problem, Mr. Speaker, is the government's tendency to sign an agreement with public sector workers only to ignore or to change the terms of the agreement. And then when that is done, and there may be good reasons why it is done, but if it is done, you need to come back to the table in an open and transparent manner and indicate to the persons why it is done. And unfortunately, what we are seeing is that groups will sit down in negotiations with the government, and then the circular, which formalizes what they have discussed and agreed, is a totally different matter. And there is a grave level of distrust between the union movement and the government around this issue. An issue which is important and coming up relates to the increments that have been agreed between the government and the trade unions. And so I want to ask the Minister of Finance whether the budget provides for the payment of those increments, plus the wage claims that the government has received from the union movement. It is important to know so that unions who are expecting that those payments are going to be made at the beginning of the new financial year will know whether that will be done. When we were last in government, Mr. Speaker, we established the Public Sector Monitoring Committee, a critical platform that brought unions to the table, ensuring consultation, transparency, and trust in decision making. What has become of that committee? We are committing, Mr. Speaker, to restoring that committee because we believe in dialogue, we believe in respect, and we believe in fairness. And as Michael Manley so powerfully put it, we have to restore the voice at the workplace. Our public sector workers are far too important to be sidelined, to be left outside, or to be forced to disrupt services just to have their concerns heard. We can do better for them, and we will do better for them, Mr. Speaker.
Julian Robinson there. He also says the PNP will introduce a competitive tender for government deposits to break the monopoly of the NCB and Scotiabank.
We currently have a high interest rate environment in the financial environment, and we understand why. The central bank had to increase interest rates to deal with the issue of inflation. And we had a period where inflation was high and the central bank had to increase their rates. However, the Bank of Jamaica's key policy rate, which influences the interest rates charged by commercial banks, has been on a downward trend. Since August 2024, the central bank has lowered this rate by a total of 100 basis points, bringing it down to 6%. However, despite this clear signal from the central bank, we have seen virtually no movement from the commercial banks in reducing lending rates. This highlights a very serious problem with the monetary transmission mechanism. Mr. Speaker, we have heard calls from ministers on that side, from private sector groups, from us, that there needs to be a reduction in the bank's interest rates. But, Mr. Speaker, we have a three-pronged strategy to deal with this. And at the core of this approach is to improve competition in the banking sector. Right? The problem, Mr. Speaker, is that we have a highly concentrated banking sector. Right? And the reason that interest rates are not moving down is because the sector lacks real effective competition. And I know the central bank is working on measures to deal with it. They are going to implement what they call the eKYC system, which will allow people to move and establish bank accounts easier. But that is not enough, and that's not going to be sufficient. The one leverage that the government has, the ministries, agencies, and departments of the government hold about 10% of the total deposits in the entire banking sector. And our commitment, Mr. Speaker, is to introduce competition for those deposits, because the majority of the deposits now go to the two big banks, close to 70 or 80%. And there have been historic reasons for that. But we are going to introduce competition for those deposits, an auction system, so that the smaller banks can get some of those deposits. What will that do? And let me say, you have different types of deposits. You have the current demand deposits, where they need that to deal with current expenses. But you have longer term deposits. And we're going to auction those so that all the banks, the 11 deposit taking institutions, can compete for the government deposits. That is our commitment, number 6. I'll tell you what this will do. It will increase competition, because smaller banks will have access to more low-cost funds, allowing them to expand their lending activities and compete more aggressively. I'll tell you, I spoke to the head of one 2 weeks ago, and he said if he had access to more of those deposits, he could bring down his lending rates. He could bring down his mortgage rates. And so you wonder why I'm talking about this. If we're going to drive economic growth, we have to deal with one of the biggest hindrances, which is the cost of capital.
Julian Robinson there, the opposition spokesman on finance. It's a minute after 6. Time for the headlines.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
a minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson has pledged that a future PNP government would introduce a flat rate for the bills of senior citizens who are customers of the National Water Commission NWC. This was one of a number of initiatives the opposition says it would implement to ease the economic burden of the Jamaican people.
I now want to move to how we plan to help those senior citizens, those who are 65 and over. Mr. Speaker, we're going to introduce for our elders or senior citizens who are retired a flat rate for their National Water Commission water bills. A flat rate. So every Jamaican 65 or over will benefit from a capped flat rate that will help to ease the financial burden. They have, and it is not going to be one rate across the board because people have different consumption patterns, right? And so you work out, and we will work out what that rate.
Robinson also pledged to extend the amount of time tertiary graduates have before they are required to start repaying their loans from the Student Loans Bureau. He says the period will be extended by 6 months.
Let's say you borrowed $5 million and your repayment is $30,000 a month, but you haven't gotten the kind of job that allows you to pay the $30,000 a month, but you're paying $20,000 every month, right? And the reality is that if you look at the unemployment data, it doesn't say this, but we have a large percentage of what you call underemployment. People who are in jobs below their experience and qualifications. The challenge with the system right now is that even though you're paying the $20,000 that you can afford every month, you are considered delinquent and in default. We are going to reform the Student Loan Bureau so that we can do away with that categorization of delinquency and being in default.
And Mr. Robinson says the PNP will introduce a competitive tender for government deposits to break the monopoly of the National Commercial Bank and Scotiabank. He says this will allow other banks to benefit from much needed capital and to drive down interest rates for small businesses.
The problem, Mr. Speaker, is that we have a highly concentrated banking sector. And the reason that interest rates are not moving down is because the sector lacks real effective competition. The one leverage that the government has, the ministries, agencies, and departments of the government hold about 10% of the total deposits in the entire banking sector. And our commitment, Mr. Speaker, is to introduce competition for those deposits. Because the majority of the deposits now go to the two big banks. And there have been historic reasons for that. But we are going to introduce competition for those deposits, an auction system, so that the smaller banks can get some of those deposits.
Mr. Robinson also vowed to phase out the asset tax paid by financial institutions over 5 years. He says this will be twinned with negotiations for the reduction of burdensome banking fees for Jamaicans.
So we're going to have to sit down and say, if we're going to phase out the asset tax, which you've been calling for, you're going to have to look at those fees that you charge customers. Those fees which, when you go to an ATM, there are a whole host of. So we are saying we will phase out the asset tax, but we are going to have a discussion about bringing those fees down so that we can deal with the cost to customers of those services.
Julian Robinson, opposition spokesman for Finance. Major General Anthony Anderson has been appointed Jamaica's next ambassador to the United States. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs made the announcement in a media release on Thursday. The former police commissioner replaces Audrey Marks, who left the post to take up a seat in the Senate. Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith says Anderson will take up his post in Washington, D.C. imminently.
We're very pleased that Major General Anderson will assume this role at a time when Jamaica looks to strengthen its security partnership. His leadership and expertise will also be critical in advancing Jamaica's wider priorities, fostering deeper collaboration with the United States while engaging strategically with the OAS. He will build on this strong foundation laid by Ambassador Audrey Marks, whose service has been instrumental in advancing our bilateral agenda.
Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. The country's fiscal commissioner, Courtney Williams, is urging government to adjust the wage negotiation period to better align with the budget cycle. Mr. Williams says the government has already committed to the adjustment as part of the country's fiscal rules, but has delayed making the necessary changes.
The situation now is that new wage rates are due April 1. Negotiations have just about started, and there are some of the negotiations which haven't yet started. So you get to the start of the fiscal year, and there's uncertainty as to how those negotiations will end, what kind of settlement you will get. So yes, the government has a contingency provision. That contingency provision, they would have assumed a certain wage increase. What if you have a situation where the settlements end up higher than what the government plans for, which has happened in the past?
Mr. Williams says with greater certainty in the country's economic and fiscal affairs, unions and the government should have the confidence to settle ahead of the country's budgetary period.
We are pretty much certain that given the situation, the strength of the reserve now, and the resolve of the Bank of Jamaica, we won't see the kind of depreciation that used to happen 15 or 20 years ago. So the macroeconomic stability actually gives the government, put the government in that position, as well as the unions, to say the likelihood of erosion of those wage settlements would be much less reduced. So we don't have to have the situation where those wage negotiations drag on as long as they used to in years gone by.
Courtney Williams, Fiscal Commissioner. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
And everybody let me hear ya. Me have to ask, why eat other snacks when sunshine has the best for you? Nature's best buns so crunchy, the flavor that sings to you. Salted banana and plantain, taste the freshness, naturally sweet, the flavor that sings to you.
Ayo, nature's best bunch.
My Mega
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills. Fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Labor rights? Kevin Frith hosts Era Council 1 meeting in St. Andrews Southeastern this Sunday, March 16 at YWCA 51 Arnold Road, 4:30 p.m. Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie rallies the team with MPs Juliet Holness, Favour Williams, Matthew Samuda, Dwayne Smith, Senators Abka Fitzhenley, Marlon Morgan, Delano Seavright, Council Caretaker Camilyn Reed and others. We ring the bell as we come to you, standing on a strong record of performance. JLP active and strong. Era Council 1 meeting hosted by Kevin Frith this Sunday, YWCA 4:30 p.m. See you there!
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alex Raby. We rejoin Wayne Walker at the National Stadium for a report ahead of the 7 p.m. start of the CONCACAF Champions Cup return leg tie between Jamaica Premier League and Caribbean Cup champions Cavalier and Inter Miami. Wayne, good evening.
Good evening to you, Alric. Well, I've made my way inside the National Stadium, and just to give you a quick idea of what the crowd looked like, maybe the bleachers is barely 1/3 full. Only where, if you have knowledge of the stadium when boys and girls championships are on, you know where Calabar normally sits. Right there, and then beside them is JC. That small area fully taken. The rest of the bleachers not yet doing as well. I'm a bit surprised that at just after 6 o'clock that the stadium looks this way. The grandstand has a lot of empty spaces in it. Not to say people are not on their way, but if they are on their way, it's going to take a real gigantic effort to get inside here, because the traffic, the rush hour traffic, people heading home and those heading to the stadium mixed. They're blended into each other on the road. So it could be that's why we're not seeing as many people in the stadium as yet. But we still monitor that. But there's a lot of empty spaces in the stadium at this time. It could very well, be full to capacity by the start of the game at 7 o'clock. Who knows? But we look at that. The Inter Miami team, I was just on the outskirts when they were driving in. I had a chance to see them on the field just now. They didn't quite do a warm-up. As you know, they didn't train on the field yesterday when they came in, and they didn't train this morning. So they took a bit of walkabout a short time ago to sort of get the feel of the surface, and they've retreated to their dressing room. They should reappear in another 20 or so minutes to do a full warm-up. The Cavalier team is also here as well. They, too, have not yet gotten into their warm-up exercises. In fact, they didn't even walk out on the field. They have much greater knowledge of this field, clearly, than the Inter Miami team. So I suppose they'll just make their way out for a full warm-up instead of walking the field like Inter Miami did. Right. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff, and the excitement is building. The music is playing inside the stadium. A lot of people are here in Argentina with jerseys with Messi in the back of it. They've also had Inter Miami jerseys with Messi in the back of it. Quite a decent turnout of those who have traveled from far and wide, outside of Jamaica, to get here, the real Messi fans. But it's building, and the 7 o'clock kickoff is not too far away. I'm perched in the top of the grandstand, so I'm able to see on the outside on Mountain View Avenue, and I can tell it's bumper-to-bumper traffic. Right. Whether those people are coming into the stadium or heading home, I'm not sure.
Right. Okay, then I'm not sure. Maybe the Nationwide at 5 team will try and touch base with you later on to get a idea of what's happening.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, Wayne Walker at the National Stadium for the return leg of the Champions Cup tie between Cavalier and Inter Miami. Now, meanwhile, Minister of Sports Oliver Grange says hosting the CONCACAF Champions Cup return leg will further enhance brand Jamaica.
I'm feeling very happy. I'm happy that Jamaica is able to host, I would say, high-profile matches. Because having Messi and other high-profile players here, it makes Jamaica look good. And I'm also proud of Cavaliers, the fact that they get to play with some of the most outstanding players in the world and to compete with them. Jamaica to the world.
Minister of Sports Oliver Grange. Now, Shea Smith, Warner Brown, Fabian Reed and Jay Nelson were on the scorecard as second-place Arnett Gardens beat 10-man Dunby Holding 4-1 in the Ray and Never Jamaica Premier League at the Anthony Spalding Complex today. Nakil Wright got the consolation goal for Dunby Holding. Meanwhile, Harbourview beat Chapelton Maroons 3-0. 10-man Montego Bay United beat Veer United 2-1 and Racing United beat Waterhouse 3-0. Now to cricket, as batting the second time, Jamaica Scorpions reached 110 for 2 at Stumps on day 2 of the West Indies Regional 4-Day Championships against the West Indies Academy at Coolidge Cricket Ground. Brandon King 58 and Javel Glenn 20 of the not-out batsmen. Earlier, the Academy men were bowled out for a first innings 211. Carlon Bowen Tuckett made 57, BK Joseph 54 and Teddy Bishop 30. O.J. Seals and Brad Barnes picked up 3 wickets each. Scores in the match so far: Jamaica Scorpions 375 and 110 for 2. West Indies Academy 211. Over at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, Leeward Islands Hurricanes reached 94 for 1 in their second innings against the combined campuses and colleges. Mikhail Lewis 34 and Casey Carter 16 are the not-out batsmen. Surprisingly, CCC declared their first innings on 170 for 9 in response to the Leeward Islands 425 in their first innings. Azar Joseph picked up 6 for 35 and Justin Greaves bagged 2 wickets. Meanwhile, Guyana Harper Eagles reached a 159 for 3 against Windward Islands Volcanoes at Providence Stadium. Captain Tevin Imlak is unbeaten on 40 and Kamoy Savory 46 not out. Earlier, the Windwards were bowled out for 213 with Jamie Salazano top scoring with 83. Viewer Samuel Pamal took 4 wickets, Gudakesh Moti 3 and Kevin Sinclair 2. And Trinidad and Tobago Red Force beat Barbados Pride by an innings and 56 runs at the Kensington Oval. Chasing 178 to ensure the Red Force bat again, the Pride were bowled out for 121. Kamara Rhodes 21 made most runs. Anderson Phillips took 4 wickets, Joshua James 3 and Jaden Seals 2. Earlier, Trinidad were bowled out for 263. Kimil Puran top scored with 60 and Amir Jangu made 56. Final scores: Barbados Pride 86 and 121, Trinidad and Tobago Red Force 263. Captain of West Indies women Hayley Matthews hit a half-century to help the Mumbai Indians to a 47-runs win over the Gujarat Giants in the eliminator of the Tata Women's T20 Premier League today. The victory ensures Mumbai will meet Delhi Capitals in the final on Saturday. Matthews, 77, came off 50 balls and includes 10 fours and 3 sixes in Mumbai's 213 for 4. Nat Shriver Brunt made 77 and captain Harmanpreet Kaur 36. Daniel Gibson picked up 2 wickets. In reply, the Giants were bowled out for 166. Gibson top scored with 34. Matthews bagged 3 for 31 and Amelia Kerr picked up 2 wickets. Now to Track and Fielders Group, CEO of Grace Kennedy Limited, Frank James, announced several new awards and initiatives for student athletes who compete at the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Championships. The awards were announced in honor of retired Group CEO Don Webby at Wednesday's launch of the 5-day championships at the National Stadium. The Don Webby Sportsman Award was the main initiative announced.
And for Grace Kennedy, it represents a commitment that has stood strong for decades and will continue. In honor of Don's remarkable legacy and to celebrate the values of sportsmanship that are so integral to champs and which Don was often very vocal on, we are proud to introduce the Don Webby Sportsmanship Award. This award, valued at $250,000, will be presented to the school of the most deserving male or female athlete.
Frank James. Now, James also announced the Don Webby Scholarship, valued at $500,000. This will be awarded to a student who demonstrates strong academic performance while actively participating in sports. Meanwhile, any school whose athletes breaks a record in sprint hurdles events at Champs 2025 will receive a cash prize of $103,000. This initiative is in celebration of Grace Kennedy's 103rd anniversary. Now, Minister of Sports Oliver Grange congratulated the team that participated in the resurfacing of the running track at the National Stadium. Minister Grange lauded the team of local and overseas workers as she toured the facility on Wednesday. She said the resurfacing work has been completed ahead of schedule and that the taxpayers would not be required to pay more than the amount of $350,000 which was budgeted for the project. The resurfacing work was led by track suppliers Recorton, working closely with Independence Park Limited. Recorton Vice President Tim Jordan assured the minister about the quality of the new surface.
This track has been resurfaced. The quality of the track is fantastic, and the quality is second to none relative to the resurfacing that we've put over top of the existing surface for sure.
Another Recorton Vice President, Doug Stone, who leads the installation of running tracks across North America, said the National Stadium has been improved.
The track has not been derated, okay? You still have a surface that went over a world-class 1 certification, and what we've done is we've installed the surface, and all of our lane line markings and event markings are at a Class 1 certified running track.
Meanwhile, venue director for Grand Slam track Don Lockerbie also sought to address reports about the certification of the track.
The track in its current condition right now is world class and it's going to perform beautifully. And it comes now with a 5-year warranty. The previous track was absolutely given the Class 1 status by World Athletics. It had its issues. It's a tough climate to contain, these surfaces, as all countries in sunny areas understand. But we absolutely are thrilled with the fact that this track now will perform to the most highest international standards possible. And so any record set on this track will stand.
Don Lockerbie. And finally, in swimming, The Aquatic Sports Association of Jamaica, ASAJ, ratified a 30-member team for the Carifta Swimming Championships in Trinidad and Tobago from April 19 to 23. Kafia Rapley has been assigned as head coach. She has high hopes for the team.
I would have been following most of these swimmers throughout the year, throughout the season. Not only following them, following the swimmers from other Caribbean countries that we will be competing against, like the Bahamas, Trinidad, the Cayman Islands. And I'm seeing where, based on the times that the swimmers from the other countries are swimming, comparing them to our swimmers, and the fact that we have some more time to work and train, I think we're going to do well.
Rapley is banking on the 13 to 14 girls to be on the podium.
They are looking like they're in medal podium position at the moment as we speak. We have some of the 15-17 boys are looking very good. So I see Kyle Radcliffe coming up in the 100-meter breaststroke. Brady Lawson, he's not training out here with us, but the time that he has submitted based on the things that he has been doing, he's in where he is located right now. It's very competitive. All podium times. So it's just for them to continue working, and we should just go there and execute.
Kafia Rapley. And before I go, let me say a special good evening to Jacqueline Thomas and the entire YouTube family. I'm Alex Ribby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:24.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
28 degrees Celsius in City Kingston and 22 in Montego Way with
we a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3 piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot. It's a big deal.
Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC, big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
It's tax season. Time to reach for your checkbook or dole out the cash. Or maybe not. Discover an easier way to pay your taxes. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. You'll get a 1-month payment holiday, up to 55 days interest-free, and unlimited rewards points on every dollar you spend. Discover how easy and convenient it is to pay your taxes with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. Don't have a Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card? Visit Sagicor.com to apply for yours today. Conditions apply. Plug into the sun with Peak Energy Solutions. We are your affordable provider for everything solar. Grid tie or off-grid solar P systems, solar air conditioners, panels, lithium batteries, solar supplies, and installation. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special good evening to our friends over on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know we like to hear from you, so we ask you to weigh in live in the comments section on today's Public Opinion. Let's get to it. Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, well, she says she's prepared to give up her U.S. visa if a sensible agreement cannot be reached on the U.S. government's expanded policy targeting Cuban labor. The U.S. government announced in February visa restrictions for public officials from countries benefiting from the Cuban labor export program.
Barbados does not currently have Cuban medical staff or Cuban nurses, but I will be the first to go to the line and to tell you that we could not get through the pandemic without the Cuban nurses and the Cuban doctors. I will also be the first to tell you that we paid them the same thing that we pay Bajans, and that the notion as was peddled not just by this government in the US, but the previous government, that we were involved in human trafficking by engaging with the Cuban nurses was fully repudiated and rejected by us. Now, I don't believe that we have to shout across the seas, but I am prepared, like others in this region, that if we cannot reach a sensible agreement on this matter, then if the cost of it is the loss of my visa to the US, then so be it.
So be it indeed, Mia Mottley, Barbados Prime Minister. The U.S. says the policy will particularly focus on Cuba's overseas medical missions. Now, Prime Minister Mottley says she's ready to stand in solidarity with the region's leaders on the matter. The Barbados Prime Minister has joined several Caribbean leaders in rejecting the policy by the U.S. Over the weekend, speaking at a PNP forum in Portland, in Jamaica, yes, St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said he was willing to sacrifice his U.S. visa rather than abandon critical Cuban medical missions in his country. The Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, he has declared that he's willing to forego future trips to the U.S. in defense of his country's sovereignty. Similarly, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has firmly rejected the move. So in public opinion, this evening, we're asking you, the people, do you think CARICOM leaders should give up their U.S. visas in defense of Cuba's medical program? Slippery slope, one would think, but let's get to it. On our Instagram platform, Lee Jones is saying, I support this. America ain't sending any nurses here if we in a crisis. Senpai is saying yes. Tyrone says affirmative. Also saying yes is Gutsmore. Yeah. Official JD also saying yes. He or she is saying that Cuba is our neighbor. York Rich tell if ask the JLP administration. One Empress saying it would have to be on block. If not, only Caribbean citizens will be victimized. One Leprodon is saying yes, I support that 100%, but we all know the Prime Minister of Jamaica is not going to do that. So ask the PM what's his position. Yeah. Lati is saying yes because Donny will only be there for a short time and that government will change. Any American who want to do business can travel to the Caribbean. Yeah. On our X platform, Desmond Campbell is saying, with Trump as the aggressor, they might just end up doing this in vain. However, the symbolic nature of it is important, especially if they all do it. I would definitely give up my visa for this cause. President Harris is saying no, diplomatic talks are better option. But following what after diplomatic talk and there is no agreement, no solution. Yeah. God's official general says absolutely. America don't control the Caribbean. Run your country and leave ours alone. Cuba has done them no wrong. Their hate for Castro should stop now. Lego over Guantanamo Bay. How long uno lease up? Fly up too. Caribbean leaders should stand in solidarity. And he says Haiti. Yeah. McHugh is saying yes, the U.S. needs to respect the sovereignty of other countries. Yeah. Do you think CARICOM leaders should give up their U.S. visas in defense of Cuba's medical program? That's the public opinion question. On our Facebook platform, Barry Blacks is saying CARICOM leaders should stand up on their feet and not on their knees, especially for our most helpful Cubans, their brothers and sisters. Yeah? Elarita Mitchell saying to us that I love Minister Tufton's response. Discuss the situation, negotiate a solution instead of jumping to conclusions about matters. Elarita is saying Jamaica have much more to lose than those small Caribbean countries with couple hundred people. Yeah? Bever Baker saying, yes, I do think so. Let Trump push all those visas where the sun don't shine. Wow, I'm run up another one day. Wow, okay. Yeah. Georgina Bryden saying, oh, yes, give it up. And then China will send doctors to the Caribbean and it will make situations worse with the USA. Prince Wellington says, I think Brogard should give up FEME first and then send Chang go talk to Trump about the... Okay. Wow. Fabian Smith says, don't care. Every leader do what's best for their country's interest. Neil Walters saying, if that's what it takes to maintain and keep our health sector, then a resounding yes. On our YouTube platform, let's get to it. Leroy Rutty saying to us that we all need to stand up against bully Trump. Yeah? Garfield Reed says, remember, Cubans are comrades. So what that have to say, Garfield? Michael Wright saying, Cuba is our neighbor, so we have to support our family in the region. Yeah? Let's see if I can get in some more. Ricardo Hall is saying, America is not the foot of the cross. They even want Canada. God is going to shake that country. Yeah? All right, let's see if we can get in some more. Papa is saying, to each their own. Everybody have to do what better for them country. Remember Manley in the 70s? Michael Wright says, we are in the Caribbean. We're supposed to support each other. Janice says, no. Yeah? Let me see if I can get in some more. Bonnie asks if I give up my visa. Then me ask a question. Me in a leadership? I mean, I'm just saying. In a reach this or yet. Let me see if I can get in a few more. Curtis Latibodere says, diplomatic dialogue first. The if, and then if that fails, then act. Yeah. Robert McKenzie, greetings to you. Let me see if I can get in some more. Student for Life says, take back my visa if they decide to take back all Jamaicans. Okay. Mark Rubio is, okay, that, me can't take a lawsuit, Student for Life. But yes, I see your comment. He is questioning, how can you punish the birthplace of his forefathers? My mother, blessed memory, benefited medically. Okay. Yeah. Let's see if we can get in a few more. Here. Devon White says we must protect or defend our sovereignty at all cost. Yeah? All right. A lot of comments coming in on this one. Barbara Ellington says, but Barbados does not have any Cuban medics, right? However, Mia Motley did say that throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Cubans assisted, Cubans helped to save life. She did went ahead to say that. Yes. And Ina Brown is saying the government will do what is in the best interest of the country. Good News saying the only thing, all right, that's in relation to another thing right there. I'm getting the wrap-up signal. So thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion. That's all the time we have. Do stay tuned. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:35. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened a 200% tariff on any alcohol coming to the U.S. from the European Union in the latest twist of an escalating trade war. The threat is a response to the EU's plans for a 50% tax on imports of U.S.-produced whiskey as part of its retaliation to Trump's tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports to the U.S. The U.S. president called for the immediate removal of the EU's nasty tariff on U.S. whiskey, calling the bloc hostile and abusive and formed for the sole purpose of taking advantage of the United States. A European Commission spokesperson said that calls are being prepared between the U.S. and the EU to discuss the situation. Still in the U.S., a judge has ordered several federal government agencies to reinstate the jobs of probationary employees fired en masse by the Trump administration last month. Judge William Alsop called the sacking of these employees part of a sham strategy that aimed to circumvent proper procedures for reducing the federal workforce. The order will apply to thousands of probationary workers who were fired at the Agriculture, Defense, Energy, Interior, Treasury, and Veterans Affairs Department. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 157 Jamaican dollars and 61 cents to buy $1 US, 202 Jamaican dollars and 18 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 109 Jamaican dollars and 91 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Roby Ann Williams. Good evening.
So, Bonnie, you renew your road license yet?
Babes, the road have me away. I can't even find time, but you know money for me.
Because see, I shall out them money the back for late fee and record fee when you sit down make your road license expire for you.
Well, transport authority so we can apply online. And that may I go to now.
Operators of public passenger vehicles and commercial carriers, renew your road license before April 1 and avoid late penalty. A message from the Transport Authority.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3-piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Forget your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot. It's a big deal. Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Get ready for Talk the Things, a night of captivating poetry and storytelling at Jamnesia Surf Club, Bull Bay, St. Thomas on Saturday, March 22 at 6 p.m. featuring incredible performances by award-winning talents like Joel Jawara Ellis, Kwame McPherson, Britton Wright, Casey Garvey, and many more. Tickets are only $1,000. Get yours now at buzzworld.com or contact 876-542-5943. Don't miss this unforgettable night of talent, creativity, and culture. Produced by Jaiko Professional Poets. Sponsored by Nationwide 90 FM.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Transjam highways. Vehicles using the automated T-Tag lane are processed in seconds, so you can pass through the toll plazas far quicker. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Labor rights? Kevin Frith hosts Area Council 1 meeting in St. Andrews Southeastern this Sunday, March 16 at YWCA 51 Arnold Road, 4:30 p.m. Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie rallies the team with MPs Juliet Holness, Favour Williams, Matthew Samuda, Dwayne Smith, Senators Atka Fitz-Henley, Marlon Morgan, Delano Seavright, Council Caretaker Camilyn Reed, and others. We ring the bell as we come to you, standing on a strong record of performance. JLP active and strong. Area Council 1 meeting hosted by Kevin Frith this Sunday, YWCA 4:30 p.m. See you there!
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads Podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Welcome back here on Nationwide at 5. It's now time for the nation's business. And we're continuing the discussion surrounding Julian Robinson's presentation today in the House of Representatives, and we're going to gauge reaction. We have with us development economist and chairman and CEO at NCS Enterprise, that's Dr. Christian Stokes. And we also have immediate past president of the Medium, Small and Micro Enterprise, that's the MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall. And we're going to gauge their reactions, as I indicated, to Julian's presentation today in the Parliament. Good evening, gentlemen.
All right, so we've lost Dr. Christian Stokes. Donovan Wignall? No, not hearing
Seems
Donovan.
like we've lost Donovan also. Okay.
Yeah. We're going to try to reconnect with them. Of course, it's budget day, the opposition's turn at the wicket. Julian Robinson, as Sanjay said, made his contribution to the debate today. Of course, in the cover story we replayed for you, what were some of the major highlights of Julian Robinson's presentation.
And we see, Ricardo, that the VEX issue of asset tax is being discussed again. The opposition is planning to phase that out over a period of time. And also what was interesting to me is to move their bank account or the consideration, I should say, to move the government's bank account to another bank based on competitive tender. That's also interesting because we know for a very long time that bank accounts for the government is kept at one of our major commercial banks here in the country.
Yeah. Let's take a time signal, and then after the break, we'll be joined by our guests.
This time signal is sponsored by Janet Global Accreditation, an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. The time is now
6:44. Thank you so much for staying with us. Getting reactions now to Julian Robinson's budget presentation. Donovan Wignall is with us. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Siobhan.
It's Ricardo.
Oh, Ricardo, good evening. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, and Sanjay is with me.
Yeah, good evening, Sanjay.
Hi, good evening, Donovan.
All right, so what did you make of the presentation?
Well, I didn't get to listen most of it because I had my head down today for the most part. So I was busy going through the written presentation. So I haven't gotten much far. So what I'm seeing so far pertaining to GDP and growth and the shadow minister basically giving the historic perspective of the PMP relative to the JLP and the years in office, comparing both parties. I think the salient point taking away from that is that is really focused on growth and, growth on one hand and addressing some of the pain points, a lot of the pain points of the everyday Jamaican. I think a lot of those points that he raised was covered by the JLP, but I think Mr. Robinson sought to go a little further. He mentioned about the asset tax on the banks. I think the banks posited that particular item, that if the asset tax was reduced, they will look at reducing interest rates and fees, which I think from a negotiating perspective, the banks are private entities and they're in it for profit. And if that is something they place on the table, and then I think as far as negotiation is concerned in reducing the direct impact to the consumer, it's not a bad proposal coming from the shadow minister.
Let me hear Dr. Stokes. I gather we have him back. Mr. Robinson's pledge to phase out the asset tax paid by financial institutions. Do you believe that this will have a significant positive effect on the sector and the broader economy should it be implemented?
No, sorry, I missed that question. The connection is not as good as I'd like.
My apologies. I was talking about the proposal put forward by Julian Robinson that the PNP administration would phase out the asset tax paid by financial institutions. And I'm asking you if you believe that this will have a significant positive effect on the sector and the broader economy if it is implemented.
Yeah, but I mean, as was pointed out by Mr. Robinson, it was intended to be short term. It was held on. I think it will be good for the banking system.
No, wait. Dr. Stokes' line is really bad.
Donovan Wigno?
Yes, man, I'm still here. Still here.
Right. So, I mean, there was a proposal, and I'm not sure if you've gone to this part of the presentation. There was a proposal to implement a flat rate for the water bills of senior citizens, and I wonder what you make of that.
It's a good proposal. Senior citizens, for the most part, do not have a lot of income. So, in my opinion, that one of the best way a government can prove itself is how it takes care of the persons who are unable to take care of themselves, the less fortunate, the poor, the old and indigent. And I think this particular measure definitely will go a far way in helping the senior citizens of the country. If you listen to most of them when they speak, I think the everyday bills that come in, the light bill, the water bill, are major pain points for them. So I think this definitely is one that I'll put in the column of the PNP as a good proposal.
What about the one to introduce a competitive tender for government deposits? And he indicated that it aims to disrupt the current banking monopoly. As someone from the MSME sector, how do you think that this would affect small businesses and entrepreneurs in Jamaica?
Well, Sanjay, I think our president also spoke positively on that one, where most of the big banks' money, and when we say big banks, talking about Scotia, NCB's monies, most of the government's money are with these two banks. Now, if it is that, for example, the BOJ, over time, would have been reducing their interest rate and expecting the transmission to take place where the banks will in turn reduce their interest rate. And the banks clapped back and said that we cannot reduce our interest rate because of, we are locked into arrangements, etc. But I think it is a way to leverage. I mean, you cannot by law do it now because it's illegal for the government to go in and tell the banks what interest rates to charge. But I think the government has leverage with the amount of public funds that it has in these banks. And if it is that you want to use leverage, almost Trumpian if you ask me, if you don't, acquiesce or give us some easement as far as these pain points of the interest rates and fees are concerned, we're going to spread out our monies to other banks so that we can introduce some competition and disrupt, what is going on currently. I think it's not a bad proposition. I don't think the banks will like it. We are shell-shocked from what happened to the banks, post-Fintax, etc. So a lot of people tiptoe around the banks. But the banks are quite solid. I think they're making lots of profits. And I think by way of negotiation, the government can induce some amount of easement to MSMEs, to the banking public, by leveraging the funds that they have in these institutions. We, by ourselves, as small businesses, are not able to do it. One, we cannot move our accounts from bank to bank easily. We cannot open accounts at other institutions easily. So I think this is a smart way of getting the banks to listen. They're not going in like a bull in a china shop and say, do it or else. But, use what they have to as leverage to cause the banks to at least listen and act. It's not. I don't think it's going to damage the banks, but I think it's a negotiating tool that can be used effectively to get the banks to react to, what we have been asking for a long time: reduce fees, reduce interest rates. As far as the taxes that the banks are asking for, the reduction in CIT, corporate taxes, reducing those over time would have given the banks what they would ask for. Sometimes when you give up taxes, you have to look at how it's going to impact the budget. And I think at the end of the day, if you introduce revenue measures that are revenue neutral, the government won't lose any money. I think it's something that can be looked at. So, it's on the table. I think it's something that we can, as a government, pursue. But let's see if the banks will listen. The opposition is not in power. So at the end of the day, if they, become the government, that's certainly something that we'll be listening out for some action or some movement on.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, Donovan, as you speak to that, your president on Tuesday indicated to us that she was not happy with the proposals the government had put forward to help the MSMEs. She think that it didn't go far enough. Let's compare what Fayval Williams presented and what Julian Robinson is suggesting. Do you think what Mr. Robinson has outlined, those ideas are better ideas than what the government is proposing?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't hear fulsomely what Mr. Robinson proposed. Mm-hmm. But in agreeing somewhat with my president, I think, just making an announcement and providing allocation to the DBJ. And by the way, the DBJ is not the only kid in the game. There's also the Exim Bank, which does do the same thing that the DBJ does. Probably could give $2 billion to DBJ, $2 billion to the Exim Bank, and have them compete for the business of MSMEs. But definitely, as far as accessing the funds that are provided, making the announcement and providing the funds is one thing. But the funds are expensive, and the red tape, the devil is in the detail in getting access to the funds. And I think the president spoke to access. We do not have access because the stricture surrounding getting the money is definitely overwhelming and arduous. So we have to drill down past the announcement and see how we can get MSMEs to actually have easier access to these funds to grow their business and in turn grow the GDP of the country.
Mm-hmm. And just given your work with the MSMEs and looking on this idea of, as you indicated, the DBJ and dealing with the issue that is before us, the access to financing. One of the things that your president had indicated is for the initial setup cost that you would have to pay to the DBJ to implement it, that they pay it over a period of time, making it easy and lessen the burden. Is it that looking on that proposal, should we or the bank should look at extending it to MSMEs where that initial cost, making it as part of the regular amount that you would pay over a period of time, would that encourage more individuals within your sector to borrow, not only from DBJ, but the commercial banks?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for small businesses, there are the issues of cash flow. And if it is that you have smaller payments stretched over a long period of time, then it's very much easier for businesses that are small to handle those small payments rather than finding huge lump sums. Just, if you're borrowing $10 million, you have to find $1 million up front to access the loan. That's one. I think it's 80%, so you have to find $2 million. And I hope my friends from the EBJ will correct me if I'm wrong there. And also the interest rate, which is, I think, can go down somewhat because the funds that the DBJ gets, I think, is about 3%. Going through the financial institution, the AFI presents its own challenges. And also getting a bill for $100,000, $200,000 at one go during the course of the year certainly is a challenge for a whole heap of MSMEs who, again, I say, have cash flow problems. There's also the problem of paying GCT on invoices and not your cash basis. So if you invoice for $1 million, you have to pay the GCC on that $1 million, even if you didn't collect that $1 million in revenue. So those are some of the things I think that could be addressed, to ease the strenuousness of operating a small business in Jamaica. We did meet with the Ministry of Finance, and those things were put forward. And I think the Minister of Finance herself has addressed some of those issues, and I think they'll be looking at them. While I do not expect these things to be addressed immediately, but certainly it is placed on the table, and I think it is worth taking a look. If the MSMEs are the engine of growth of the country, then you have to treat them like a baby. You have to nurture them. You have to cause them to grow. You have to cause them to be, sustainable. And once you do that, those companies will matriculate into bigger business to push the GDP of the country. I think one of the easiest ways to grow the country right now in terms of, what we need is to boost the whole thing of agriculture. If it is this easiest way, and I keep saying it, that the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Agriculture need to sit down. I think Mr. Green, Floyd Green, is doing a wonderful job, and I think if he's giving the support and giving the financial support to really ramp up what he's doing, I think that could impact significantly the growth and GDP of the country. There are a couple of low-hanging fruits that I think that will impact the country, whether it's your personal economies, the macro economy, or your business economy. I think if you, step out of the box for a bit and think a little bit more innovative, we'll see much better than the 1.2 growth rate projected over the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, Donovan Wignall is the immediate past president of the Medium, Small and Micro Enterprises, the MSME Alliance. Donovan, thank you as always for your time.
You're most welcome, Sanjay.
Yeah. Well, Ricardo, remember last week we had indicated that the opposition has to go on show to tell the country what is it that they plan to put forward should they form the government. We see Julian Robinson starting today. The question now is, did he go far enough? Did he put enough proposals forward to the Jamaican people that they can be convinced that the opposition has a grasp of what is happening and can have a handle going forward if they should form the government? That's the question out there now.
Yeah, and it would have been nice to hear from the analysts, how they see what we heard in the parliament. Mr. Wignall obviously saying he didn't get a chance to hear and, has not read the entire thing yet. And unfortunately, we could not reconnect with Dr. Stokes. But it's to be heard from certainly the economists,
yes,
certainly those who follow the politics, what they make of what they heard from Julian Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Especially in an election year. It will be interesting to see.
7 o'clock, time for the break.
Jamaica's Spark program is investing $45 billion to improve roads, water, and telecom. Better infrastructure for a better future. The time by Spark is...
Book says it's 7 o'clock.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the hose and tool boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
For generations, Jamaican families have trusted Imperial Optical to keep their vision clear and their style sharp. From their first eye exam to the latest in fashion frames, we've been there for every milestone, every moment, and every memory. Whether it's your child's first day at school or your grandparents' golden years, our care spans every age, every stage. Visit Imperial Optical today. Generations of care, generations of trust.
Digicel, live life your way, no free what? Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for 2 to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us, every week you could win
exciting prizes, event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Do you need a copy of your property title? Visit Eland Jamaica to get quick access to land-related information anytime, anywhere in the world. You can also access our free integrated map from the comfort of your home or office without having to visit us. All you need is internet access and your credit card to access Eland Jamaica at nla.gov.jm or call the National Land Agency at 876-750-5263 for more information. Eland Jamaica, your guide to Jamaica's land information anywhere, anytime.
2 minutes after 7, we're turning our attention now to the NCB Foundation Level Up Grant Program. Now, in an age where technology offers limitless possibilities, the NCB Foundation is seeking to empower Jamaicans to seize those opportunities with a share of $20 million in grants through this year's Level Up Grant Program. Now, launched during the height of the COVID-19 in 2020, the Level Up was developed in response to the unprecedented economic challenges posed by that global pandemic.
And with many Jamaicans facing job losses, reduced work hours, and economic uncertainty, NCB Foundation recognized the urgent need to equip individuals with the tools to adapt to a rapidly changing world and embrace the opportunities of the digital economy. For a fifth consecutive year, NCB Foundation has partnered with Internet Income Jamaica, that's IIJ, to deliver digital skills training to unemployed and underemployed Jamaicans.
IIJ has provided training and education for students to learn how to earn online for over a decade. IIJ's aim is to provide students with the vital training, tools, and support they require to build a successful online business.
And to date, NCB Foundation has invested over $115 million in Level Up and has impacted over 12,000 Jamaicans, with participants earning close to $23 million in just 2 months last year. Well, joining us now, we have the Deputy Chair of NCB Foundation, that's Andrew Pearman, and we also have Level Up graduate Felicia Johnson. Good afternoon, or good evening, I should say, and welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Wonderful. So, Andrew Pearman, we gave a wonderful outline about Level Up, but talk to us a little bit on this program. How did it get started, and where is it that NCB is taking this wonderful idea?
Well, again, once a good afternoon, good evening to all your listeners, and thank you so much for helping us spread the word about this amazing program. You know, it was, as you said, in the height of COVID-19. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had a huddle board call, and we needed to do something quickly. I don't know if you remember what was happening at the time, but because of the global pandemic, the level of job losses, it was just simply unprecedented. Companies were cutting back, and we had to find the way and the means to equip people with the skills that they could earn money in this time. So this was the genesis of it, how it came about, because we really needed to equip people with the tools to adapt to this changing world. And, we went out on a limb here, but it worked out very well for us. And it's now in the 5th year, as you mentioned.
And to Felicia, you have been a graduate of this program. Talk to us about the program. What are the benefits you gain from it, and why would you encourage other individuals to be part of it?
Good evening again, everyone. Financial freedom. I get more time to spend with myself, with my family. I get to do more. And I will encourage anyone and everyone to join. Even if you have a job, you can do it as a side hustle. It teaches you a lot. It broadens your horizon and let you know a lot about different technology, different skills, different media outlet that you can use to do your job properly.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew Pearman, just about how many applicants have been assisted by the program so far?
Okay, so far it's over 12,000 applicants.
Wow.
Right?
It's a lot.
So it is a lot, and it is certainly life-changing. And the only thing, though, is that I have to tell you now early, is that the deadline is coming up.
When is it?
It's Friday, March 14th, which is tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Oh.
Tomorrow.
Yes, so, you still have, the rest of tonight and tomorrow. If you know anybody that can benefit from these, from this life-changing opportunity to learn digital skills, you have to let them know. If you know anybody that qualifies, and we'll get into that soon, please encourage them to come on. This can be, it's truly a life-changing moment, to be able to have that financial freedom, to be able to earn, to be able to support yourself and your family.
Yes. And Felicia,
just before we get to Felicia, considering the tight timeline, let me just ask Andrew Pearman, perhaps we should talk about who can apply. Myself and Sanjay, we can just go on and apply right now?
Certainly. Okay, first of all, right, let's go through this quickly. To apply for the program, you need to complete the online application by end of day tomorrow.
So that's 5 o'clock. That's about 5 o'clock? Or end of day as in the whole day?
No, I think end of day the whole day.
Oh, okay.
You should have until probably 11:59 p.m.
Okay.
But please, there may be a lot of internet activity. We don't want to wait till the last minute. Okay, guys? So try do it from tonight, right? So you have to be a Jamaican citizen. You have to be 18 years old or older. You have to be either unemployed or underemployed. So if you don't have a full-time job, you qualify for that. You do not, you can't have an undergraduate or graduate degree.
Oh.
Right? So if you have an undergraduate or graduate degree, you don't qualify. And you need, most importantly, to show a strong commitment to personal development, community, and nation building.
Right.
So let's just recap. Deadline is tomorrow night. You need to be a Jamaican citizen. You need to be either unemployed or underemployed. And for unemployed, we know what that means, right? It's that you have a job, but it's really not utilizing your skill sets, right? You must, you're not able to join if you have an undergraduate or graduate degree. And of course, we want people with a strong commitment to personal development, community, and nation building, with a view to give back.
Right. And just for clarification, what if the person is in the process of acquiring the degree? So they're at university studying for the degree, but they don't have it yet. Can they apply?
Right. They can certainly apply because they would not have been granted the degree as yet.
Oh, okay.
Right. And Felicia, for someone who is listening and you haven't gone through the program, what advice would you give to individuals who are listening? They're not so sure if they should sign up by tomorrow. What would you tell them?
I would tell them, please go ahead and sign up. This program is life-changing, very life-changing. You will not regret it. You will be learning life skills that you can apply in your everyday life. You'll be able to support yourself and your family. You'll be able to have financial freedom, more time with yourself, your family. If you're a parent, you'll be able to stay home and take care of your family, take your children to school, pick them up back from school. So it is a very, very, very good program. I would encourage you to join right now. Right now.
And Felicia, what was the most important skill you think you gained from being a part of the Level Up Grant program?
I would say I gained two. I want to say two. Relationship building. I was able to create meaningful, long-term relationship or connection with my clients as a virtual assistant, which is very important to stay in the game.
Yes.
Adaptability. I've gained the ability to adjust and thrive in a changing environment or dynamic or a digital world. because at any moment, anything can change, anything can happen. You know, the company that you're working for, they can be downsizing or they can go bankrupt. But because you've learned the skills and you hone them, you're able to put back yourself out there. And because you've learned how to market yourself from the program, you're able to put back yourself out there, market yourself, and gain another client immediately, or maybe a month or so after losing that client.
And Andrew Pearman, for anybody listening, and as Felicia said, apply right now. You said they go online. What's the website that they access?
Okay. All right. There are two ways, right? You can go to ncbscholarships.com/level-up-program. Let me repeat. ncbscholarships.com/level-up-program. Or you can actually go on our Instagram, which is at NCB Foundation. That's probably a quicker, easy link. And by the way, if you haven't followed us, you need to follow us. And I just want to point out, guys, this is a huge opportunity. In fact, we've invested at NCB over $115 million in this short time, right? And as you know, it has impacted over 12,000 Jamaicans already. And in fact, as you mentioned, in just 2 months, we had participants earning close to $23 million. So there's a lot of money in it to be earned. It's a great opportunity, and I'm asking you, please do not wait until the last minute. We want to say the program expanding this year. We want to get people on board, and we want people to be able to make a difference in their community. And Felicia, we're so proud of you, honey.
Thank you.
And just to be clear,
thank you guys for the opportunity.
Awesome. And just to be clear, Andrew, the application is free.
It is free. It is at no cost to you at all.
All right. So there's no deterrent, guys. Let's go again.
There's no deterrent.
You can go to NCB Foundation on Instagram, which is perhaps the fastest way most people can access it. That's on Instagram. And if you want to go to the website, it's ncbscholarships.com/level-up-program. There we go.
That's right.
I got it.
Pretty simple.
But before I go, I have to say thank you to all. Thank you to you guys for helping us to get the message out. And thank you to all our NCB customers, because what we do at the foundation, we do for and on your behalf. So thank you for the support. And please, guys, let's blow this out the water this time.
Absolutely. And finally from me, Felicia, what's next for your career, having had this opportunity?
So what I'm currently doing now, I'm finishing up my website. I want to start advertising my website the end of this month or early next month, preparing to do my photo shoot for my website. I want to help upcoming persons who want to be virtual assistant. You know, when my website takes off and I have enough work, I can employ someone and give them the opportunity to learn and grow while they're making money to take care of themselves and their families. So that's what my aim is right now. That's what I'm focusing on.
I love the way Sanjay. I love the way she speaks. She affirms it. Not if it takes off, when it takes off. I love that. Felicia Johnson, a Level Up graduate, the Level Up grant program from the NCB Foundation. We also had with us Andrew Pearman, the deputy chair of the NCB Foundation. The deadline tomorrow at about 11:59, but you don't want to wait. You can do it now. Do it on morning, as Felicia says. Do it no.
No,
that's right.
The NCB Foundation has already invested over $115 million in the Level Up and has impacted over 12,000 Jamaicans. And get this is the hook, with participants earning close to $23 million in just 2 months last year. So you need to be a part of it.
You know, Ricardo, as they say, no, something come to mind. The song that said, what's that song? Run out, no.
No. Felicia Johnson, Andrew Pearman, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
All the
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure being here.
Yeah, man. Have a good one. 15 minutes after 7, it's time for your calls now. 630-9371 to 4-618-8255.
24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my multi-link?
Total Tools is now open in Drax Hall. Mondays to Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and open on holidays. Visit them at Lot C6, Drax Hall, St. Anne. Telephone 876-972-6328 or 876-373-2729. Total Tools. Every tool, every trade.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Labor rights? Kevin Frith hosts Era Council 1 meeting in St. Andrews Southeastern this Sunday, March 16 at YWCA 51 Arnold Road, 4:30 p.m. Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie rallies the team with MPs Juliet Holness, Favour Williams, Matthew Samuda, Dwayne Smith, Senators Atka Fitz-Henley, Marlon Morgan, Delano Seavright, Council Caretaker Camilyn Reed and others. We ring the bell as we come to you, standing on a strong record of performance. JLP active and strong. Era Council 1 meeting hosted by Kevin Frith this Sunday, YWCA 4:30 p.m. See you there!
19 minutes after 7, we're taking your call. Sanche, do you have a favorite campaign song?
Ricardo. It's so funny that you asked that. That very song that was just playing.
Yeah.
I remember the year, and every time I hear that song, you just have to be, bobbing to it.
Yeah.
It has a certain beat and a flow that gets people to move.
Yes.
And I think that's the importance of campaign songs.
That one is good, but I also like Forward Pusher Forward.
Oh, God. Don't talk about that one.
Forward
When
play,
that one is played in the Ricardo,
Forward
you remember,
Pusher
you can
forward
think about
to
Porsche coming through the
another
National
victory.
Arena. And then midway,
Yes.
Porsche starts to run to the scene, and the
yes.
security personnel and everyone is
Yes.
behind her.
Yes.
And she just have this thing of electrifying
I'll
the
tell you,
audience, Ricardo.
I'll tell you, I miss her for that because she made
Yes.
the politics
Yes.
fun. There is a line in the song that I like it. It says, "You're wrong for trouble, Portia. You're wrong." But no, those are two good ones.
Yes.
Me and my neighbor
Yes.
and Forward Portia Forward.
Yes, I love the forward Porsche one too. They're really nice.
20 minutes after 7. Wes, you're up first. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Wes.
Yeah, I was listening to the presentation from Julian this evening.
Yes.
Yes.
But, even though me bat on the team, I always said I love to listen to Julian. Julian have a way of presenting himself, respectful, statesmanship.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting to hear more because on their road show you hear a lot more of what they would do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to hear more of what they would do, like the government saying they're moving from 1.5 going to 22. They were supposed that they were going to trigger some time ago.
Yes.
I thought I would have heard something pertaining to that. But so listening to it, I don't have any issue with nothing that he presents. The only thing I was thinking then, like for example, we live into an household and most of us more younger. However, our water rate, the water is in grandma or grandpa's name. So, but at the end of the day, and grandpa really use water so we grandpa start it because it's not fair name. But of course, he said that it is not just not just dash it out just like that. They would do an investigation to ensure that is right, because being a senior citizen not necessarily means so that you can't afford it.
Which then, and I hesitate to speculate as to how it would be implemented because we didn't get the details. But that's a valid point. The one you're raising is a valid point, and it's obviously the most immediate one that would come to mind. You know, if it's, as you say, the grandparents' house, the water is in their name, but, you know, you are using most of the water. And most importantly, you can afford to pay for the water. Do you then get a benefit that you are not deserving of? Valid point. Valid question.
What is it? You get that flat rate because you're a senior citizen?
Yes, it appears that would be the only criteria.
That appears it, yes.
Yeah. So that's a valid question. And then he said, I wasn't quite clear whether the flat rate would depend on how much a senior citizen was earning. That wasn't clear to me either. Meaning if you might have a higher pension or if you live in a particular community, those parts weren't clear. So those are questions for Mr. Robinson to answer.
Well, I guess he will touch up because Mr. Robinson is not somebody who shall from me. That me know for sure. And the next question is this: whenever time the opposition make a proposal of the things that they would do if they go into power, is it a requirement for them to state how are you going to implement this, where the money going to come from and stuff like the governing party would say, okay, we're going to do this and this is where the money going to come from and stuff. Is that a requirement of them to do it, or just talk we are going to do and nothing for sure how you're going to do it? Is that for
The truth is, for many years, we have, opposition will talk and give ideas, but when you talk about the financing of it, I remember a particular opposition spokesperson indicating that they're not in government, so they don't know where the money is or what is where, so they have to wait until they go into government. And that for me is a little bit scary when I heard that years ago, because I mean, you could make promises and then when you go in office, the money that you want to fund it's not available.
Yeah, you see I go send pretty care when I go America, I know about America, when I go America, you find out not go so.
Yeah, but on the flip side, though, we demand the opposition to talk about what is it that they will do should they form the government. So is it that we're requiring or we're requesting too much to know about the specifics of the funding?
Absolutely not.
They don't have the first-hand information available.
No, I wouldn't accept that, Sanjay, and I'll tell you why. Because, and this might be a consequence of the heightened consciousness about the importance of fiscal prudence and stability. But you'd certainly want or expect the opposition with available data, because there's available data. You know how much the government is spending in XYZ, you know how much they're collecting in taxes, you know all of that. So you'd certainly expect any opposition to do research and be able to then say, based on the research we've done, based on these estimates, based on XYZ, we are projecting to do this. I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation at all.
Right.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
Well, overall, for me personally, I have totally no issue with his presentation. And as you said, he said he's not knocking the government on either. However, I think they don't go far enough. And he has his point. But overall, for me, it's okay.
All right. Appreciate you, West. Willow.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo.
Good evening.
First and foremost, let me big up my YouTube family them, because hey, when I do that, I can't go back over there more black one by one. Yeah, man. First, must say congratulations to Auntie Favor. Think she did well. Well, exceptional. I'm rephrase that. And Julian today. Julian, great. Me agree with him out of 5. With 1 being the lowest. More than give him a 2.
Why a 2?
Hmm?
Why?
I think his presentation was lacking in a lot of areas. First and foremost, the flat rate. Should it have been a base rate instead of a flat rate? Because a flat rate no means you pay one figure. So then he's gonna say depending on how much or whatsoever. I don't believe you should have variance in a flat rate, don't it?
No, you see, I can't answer the question if there's going to be a variance because, as I say, it's not clear to me. If it's one rate across the board.
He said depending on certain things, you put caveat in it, don't you?
Right.
You have some caveats in it.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I want to wait for the fleshing out before I make an assessment.
Oh,
you want to hear
the meat?
You're right, because I don't know. I don't have the answers to those. I'm actually trying to read through the written speech now just to get a sense of whether it was spelled out in any more detail and you just jumped over it. So,
I guess they would say the government have more details based on they know the finances, so they would have a better understanding of how the spending must go. But hey, I think Julian was vague in most cases today. Seriously. Yeah. It was very vague. If I get nothing, I could answer yes. Well, he made a few proposals we kind of can identify with, but basically...
Like which one? Which one?
So, yeah.
Which one?
Huh?
Which one can you identify with?
Which one I can identify with?
Yes.
The one, you see, if he could have explained it better, the one with the seniors. That's so plausible, but
Okay, so here's what the written thing says. Madam Speaker, another key commitment to tackle the cost of living will focus on our elderly citizens. Jamaicans aged 65 and older will benefit from a capped, flat rate water bill to ease the financial strain. It's called commitment number 4. And to determine the rate, Mr. Robinson says, a special committee will be established to assess and set a fair and sustainable fixed amount using historical consumption patterns as a basis.
Fixed amount, okay.
Yes.
Fixed amount.
And he says the policy will be designed in a way that avoids what he describes as moral hazard. That is, it will prevent situations where consumers, knowing their bill is capped, might engage in excessive or wasteful water usage.
Okay.
So I don't know how you do that, but
and the other one,
how are you going to monitor that though?
Isn't that currently in place?
Say that again?
The 1 meal per day. Isn't that currently in place?
For students on PATH.
Only for students on PATH?
Yes, as far as I know.
How would he basically veer from the PATH student to, how would he determine who else outside? Suppose a parent can afford to, basically, suppose a parent can afford to send his
No, but it would be for needy. No, man, it would be for needy students. I'm assuming some assessment would be made.
But
perhaps.
PATH students are needy students, so
Yeah,
basically what you're saying.
No, but remember,
students outside of PATH are needy.
Absolutely.
Really?
Remember, remember in a will. Now, everybody who is in need is on PATH.
Yeah.
In fact, there are a lot of complaints of some people who say they need their help, but they just can't get on PATH. That's a standing complaint.
Yeah, because I was hearing that if you have certain appliances in the house, them basically deem it as unsuitable. But, well, as me,
so that's a long-standing...
I thought our Pernell said they was going to look at it.
Yes. But
they was going to look at it.
Again, that commitment has been made for several years now. That they
several years?
Yeah, man.
But Pernell, how long now Pernell has been minister?
No. What I'm saying, he's not the first minister to say that.
Oh, he's not the first minister. Well, I guess we'll hold him to that commitment. And we got to hold him to that commitment.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to my Prime Minister budget presentation, yeah? And I know Anti-Favor will come and rebut Julian. 100%.
All right.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Anyway, bless him.
Yeah,
and again, big up my YouTube family again. I don't have call the name. I know people are listening to the call, but we don't get themselves in that trouble.
All right, well. We take a break, come back with more.
Apply for your Sagicor Bank Preferred Prepaid MasterCard today. Load your remittances for everyday spending. Receive cash transfers from any local bank. The time by Sagicor Bank is
7:31. Lens, good evening. Doing all right. How you
doing? Good.
Me almost heart, you know. Oh, I'm all right. Me I work on it. So
Good. That's good.
But there's something that needs to be corrected, and I don't want to say I'm sick and tired of hearing it. I may be sick and tired. But this whole idea of Mr. Robinson mentioned it today, that the PNP under Peter Phillips is the one to be credited for what the JLP is doing today. Now, my father of blessed memory would normally say, I don't want to call you a liar, but you're far from a truthful person. Meaning to say, how can somebody who deliberately, me give you my car for go run taxi, and you mash up the car, and then now you try to say at the end of the day you're going to fix it back and give me, you still, really drivable, but really and truly it's not in the condition that I gave it to you. Meaning to say now, the JLP administration of 07 to 11, at one stage, they ended the day with 13 and a half quarters of no growth. Don't know if you remember that. Hello?
Yeah, man, we're
yes,
listening. We're
listening.
listening.
Go ahead.
Right. So, 13 and a half quarters of no growth. Do you remember how the whole episode played out? How it started? It started with Audley Shaw promising government employees or government workers, especially the nurses.
I was about to say, yes, specifically the nurses. Yes.
At least 20% increase. When he got into office, Mrs. Allwood Anderson beat him on him back with that.
Mm-hmm.
They were offering more than what the PNP were offering before. I think the PNP was offering before about 4% over a 2-year cycle or a 2-contract cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Audley said he could only offer 7.5. And they refused to take it. They said, you promised 20. And, I mean, I don't know if you remember how tense the labor market was at the time.
Yes.
They refused to take the 20 under
the 7
campaign from Peter Phillips not to budge. And we couldn't get that public, we couldn't get money because the one piece of puzzle that was left out of the thing is the contract from the government workers. We couldn't get none of the government workers to sign any contract, and as such couldn't draw down on any money. And hence, the Jamdex came into being, which the PNP at the day, Peter Phillips, everybody ridiculed it. Now, really and truly, they actually stifled the country now. Hold it at the neck. The PNP came into office December 11, and the first thing they did was have Jamdex 2 and have a contract signed with the workers for 0 increase, 0% increase.
But I think
and the contract eventually went to 8 years without an increase. But now we could draw down on some money.
If I could just interject though, Carla, because there's no doubt that in the 90s, the issues that existed with the financial sector and how the economy was running, we know the evidence is there that it was a difficult time and bad decisions were made. However, you will recall when Andrew Holness went to Mandeville and spoke about bitter medicine, in essence telling Jamaican people that, look, we're going to have to make some hard decisions. I think the credit that the PNP is speaking about is when the JLP lost the election, the PNP won, and Peter Phillips, as Minister of Finance, steered us through a portion of the IMF deal and started administering some of those bitter medicine that set the foundation now for what we're seeing the JLP is building on. So you have to, in a sense, give the PNP some amount of credit. Dr. Phillips, being the finance minister at the time, was a difficult period, but it's not taking away from the credit that Nigel Clark would have, in a sense, Audley Shaw, Nigel Clark, and now Favour Williams would have framed that we are now, in a sense, benefiting from.
No, I cannot give the credit, because if we had gotten the workers to sign a contract, we wouldn't be here, you know.
But hold on.
I hear you.
But hold on. Yeah, okay. So all right, fine.
We would have been miles ahead.
No, but say I take you at your best, and you know that is true. The fact is that, you know, they didn't sign. They were offered the thing. The IMF agreement largely collapsed. We didn't pass the test, and then in 2011, as the then Prime Minister, now Prime Minister, said that bitter medicine was coming, because both parties obviously agreed. One told the truth up front, one perhaps didn't, but they both agreed that what was to come, the kind of structural reform that we were going to have to go through, was going to be difficult. Now, what Sanjay is saying is that even if you say that, you know, the PNP somehow encouraged the unions to hold out and that led to the collapse, the fact is that Dr. Peter Phillips had a very difficult job to do and had to steer us through that initial rough period. That is a fact. So Julian is saying, and I don't think it's an unreasonable point, and I don't know why we try to erase Dr. Phillips' contribution. I don't think that's helpful. He did a lot. He did a lot in the 4 years, in the initial 4 years.
But he played an integral part in the unions not signing.
Okay,
Yes,
but I'm saying, be that as it may, it is a fact that he had to go to Washington, cap in hand, beg the U.S. Black Caucus to intervene, get the IMF to come back on board. That's a fact. In other words, so two things can be true. So two things can be true. It's not either or. Two things can be true.
I'm saying, you know, here is it that we have a situation where it's similar to now that we reach, make we fix it, you know. That's all it was, you know. Now that we achieved our goal in bringing down the administration, in bringing down the country, suffering the country. So now that we get it back, we have to fix it.
Okay.
No,
but even if you say that, if you say that, it does not discount the fact that he embarks on a road to correct it.
Yes. And remember, hold on, but remember also, caller, Dr. Phillips could have taken up office and then decide that, look, we're going to give the people all that they want and run with it. And bear in mind, at the time, Dr. Phillips was fighting a battle in Washington to have IMF come back to the table. And don't forget that there are individuals in the very cabinet who was clamoring for more money to help the people within the country, especially because they just came back in office and made certain promises. And Dr. Phillips, credit to him, he held it and indicated that, look, we're going to stick to the deal that we have finally received from the IMF and ride it through.
Look, man, I hear what you're saying, you know. But as I said, I don't want to call you a liar, but you're far from a truthful person. Not you, Sanjay, you know, but the same. Because if those people would have taken that 7.5% increase, I'm saying we would have drawn down on all the monies from the multilaterals, all of those would have happened. And lest we forget, I cannot praise you for bringing down the house and then trying to build it back. I cannot give you credit for that. I cannot praise you for that. Because you tear it down in the first instance.
All right.
Thank you.
Hear you.
All the best. You know, Ricardo, the politics of it sometimes causes us probably not to give credit where credit is due. And I don't think anyone can erase what Dr. Phillips did at that time, Ricardo.
And there is no need to do that.
And there's no need to.
And as I said, two things can be true.
Of course.
Yes, the PNP's record in managing the economy has not been stellar. That is a fact. But it is also a fact that in those 4 years, Dr. Peter David Phillips did a lot. He did. That's a fact. When I read and I hear his telling of I think there was one budget debate where he had the resignation letter written and, was waiting to hear whether the agreement was approved.
Mm-hmm.
Those are difficult decisions. And he had the courage, as you said, to stand up, even if you want to say yes, but at them to tear it down first. He had the courage. You can say it was late. You can say it was belated. You can say all of that. And that might well be true. But he had the courage to see it through or begin the process, which the JLP took the baton from and did a sprint. And did a sprint.
And there's no doubt about that either. But we, as you indicated, Ricardo, we have to commend Dr. Phillips. It was tough. Remember, he had the political realities in the country.
That was the period of the so-called Jeep, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That was a terrible program. Who is next? Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Sanjay, Ricardo.
Good evening. Chris.
Well, I tell you, I like that Dr. Peter Phillips. He was a big man in body, and I had to interact with him. So he was a great man, but I tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The greater man to me at the time was Andrew Holness.
Mm-hmm.
Now Dr. Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister,
Mm-hmm.
who never learned the song that they say, Tell Me a Lie. You know that song? You're too young to know. I'm going 62 now.
But wait, hold on, pause, because I agree with you. In December 2011, I think...
Do not take away my time,
No, man, I'll give it back to you. Was it November or December 2011? When he said bitter medicine, Andrew Holness, I think history will credit him for telling the truth.
Yes.
He was correct. And
history
he thought...
will credit him.
Yes, man, history will look on him
History will
favor.
credit him,
Absolutely.
but the ballot box never credited him.
It did not. It did
They
not.
didn't.
It
You
did
understand
not.
me?
And he told,
And
and let me just say,
You know-
it was a sad thing that the Jamaican people did not accept the truth. Yeah, that was a sad thing. Let me just make that clear.
Andrew
just
was
before,
the
just
man.
let me finish my
Don't
this
take
quick
away
point.
my time, I
All
say.
right, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. History will tell that he told the truth. But he told the truth and said it is bitter medicine. I would have been at Jamaica House, several meetings with Prime Minister Bruce Golding. And when he tried to put the thing on, to put it to our public sector union, me hear woman look at him and say, lie! I never hear no union head ever talk to any PNP government like this. Some of them were disrespectful, so much so now some of them is now entering politics and so forth. I am saying to you, the speech today was flat and I can't see anything in it. This 65-year-old thing, and you're talking that there's a cap. Tomorrow now, people build on family land, and yes, you talk about the cap. You're going to look at what? The speech, it was a lot of blabbering, if there's such a word. I was expecting more from Julian, because Julian, when I was working in Kingston, Julian would always send me a postcard on my birthday. And he don't care which party you're from, he never know either. But he would send you a postcard to say happy birthday. He had that kind of skill. I think he's getting a little bit old, and I noticed even Mr. Monday was looking uncomfortable. I don't know what bigger he can come with, because I know...
Who was looking uncomfortable?
Mr. Golding was looking so uncomfortable in the house.
Oh.
I saw him. I was looking on YouTube on your channel. And when you look at the picture, you have a few persons knocking desks behind Julian, to include my friend Denise Daly. Knocking desks. I remember going to meeting and I keep in my own conference. And when I'm talking, the commissioner then and the minister Bunting, they are chatting and me making point representing my workers. And they are chatting like hell. And they have to stop. You can ask a reporter from TVJ, Hines from Brownstown. I said, Mr. Minister, Mr. Commissioner, because they are just there and they are not listening to the workers. What we have in now is just fight for seat. But I'm telling Jamaica people, if they give up on what is happening, all this flattery about water. Look here, down where I'm from, the Prime Minister came there in June last year, 21 of June, and break ground. for water. And I'm 62 going, And hello?
Yes, man, listening.
Yes.
We just getting a chance to see at least a little glimmer of hope that there might be water coming to northwest, southwest, and I hear Julian, I was in a little place, and I hear Julian say, what's his name, Danai daughter, whatever she name, Danisha. Danisha don't even know where she's running right now, because she says she's running in northeast. She didn't know that it was southwest center and she's running. You understand? They're running around, and we need to hear substance. What is the alternative? We need good alternative.
And the alternatives you heard this afternoon don't
make no damn sense.
Oh, I see. All right.
I am telling you, no, don't run away. Remember me tell you take away from my
No, I would give back a while ago in silence. We gave in silence.
All right, give me one. Beg you back one. I'll make me left you.
Mm-hmm.
I am saying to you, what we want to hear is good alternative. A debate, I used to be on the debating competition at Brownstown, secondary at the time. And when you make a point, me counter it or me credit you for it. I'm not hearing that type of thing. I hear a lot of babbling for the last. I wouldn't give him no extra time, I don't know why the people were so generous to give him extra time to speak.
Well, you get extra time now.
All right.
We need to
Thank you. You have a good night.
Yeah, all right. Aye. Michael?
Come on in the recorder is always that.
Michael?
Don't take me time.
Michael, good evening.
Michael?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, the crew and the crew.
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, you see this budget this evening with Julian?
Mm-hmm.
It is flat. It have no substance. They come with no figures. They're just chatting. We don't know. When you come in with budget, come with figures and tell the people where you're going to get the money to fund all this thing what you're talking about. Show some more. Now, everything again, We're not going to talk. We're not going to come out for this show some more. You come with budget with your mouth full of attack. Come with substance. Tell the people where you get the money from. Do like Mr. Nigel Clark, Miss Williams. Come to us with facts. Come to us with maths and figures. You don't come to big budget speech and just chatting. You just chat. We don't want to go back in the 90s and the 80s, Where you come and chat and then separation meet the people again and high taxes. You know what I mean? We don't want to go back in a things like years back. We pass through them thing there. You know what I mean? We don't want to go back in here. The first time in PMP I read budget, I have to hide, and turn off my radio and my TV, Come, I don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see it, boss. I soon reach 60. Next year, I'm 60. And first time in PMP I read budget, I tell my boy to lock off the TV and lock off the radio. Come, I know my belly run and pain me. And I have headache. No, when budget I read, when the present government not reading budget, you can hold a little whiskey, cut your 10, sit down on your TV and watch, and happy. You know what I mean? You see me I say? You can't sit down and relax. You know, if you fret and run going to the bathroom every minute, because your belly run. I don't want to go back in them thing there. This man come, this Sylvian attack, in just a chat, he not come in no substance. He not tell the people them we ain't going to get the money from to fund this, to fund that. When none of them more talking again. More, this not going to work. Come and trick in the people with sweet mouth and sweet talk and knocking at decks. No, not at this time.
All right.
We're not run with this time, bad.
Hear you, Michael. Thanks for the call.
All the best.
Just to tell the listeners, Sanjay, that we have confirmation that the head of the St. Elizabeth Police, Superintendent Hopton Nicholson, has or was involved in a motor vehicle crash. I beg your pardon. It's Superintendent Coleridge Minto. I beg your pardon. So that's the head of the St. Elizabeth Police, Superintendent Coleridge Minto, was in a motor vehicle crash. He's been admitted to hospital and is in stable condition. Yeah. Carl, good evening.
Good evening, Carl. Evening, Sanjay.
Good evening, Carl.
Out of 10, you can give Julian 1.5. But I was listening for Julian to come and tell me, say, here's where government I got say organized to sell in a Highway 2000 instead of selling to 3,000 or 3,300 or 3,600, cut it down to 2,700, make more people can buy shares in it. But me can't give PMP no ideas. Anyhow, I continue to hear for years now. I try to mislead the people in our country. Peter Philip, I cannot give Peter Philip no credit.
Why?
Thank you very much for asking me that question. Peter Philip was a part of the disaster of the 90s when Omar Davis went to Meadowbrook and talked his bag of garbage. Peter Philip did not say nothing. So when he goes to Washington and get embarrassed of his own doing, help of own doing.
But Carl, does that take away from the fact that even that though he was part of the government of the 90s, that we saw the financial issues, does it take away from the fact that he was the one that started the process, that the JLP, as Ricardo indicated, took the baton and completed a sprint? You can't give him credit for that. At least laying the foundation.
The only reason why the jail, because them did have the people of Jamaica vote them out. So the JLP get the button to move on.
Right, but the PNP could have taken over and do exactly what happened in the 90s. They didn't have to stick to the plan, make sure that the MF deal came to
hold on, Licker. You said something that is, there was nothing there to do the same run with it like what they did before. With that in a precipice. Don't come with cheap argument like that. I'm going to put a question to you now. If you have your car and you don't insure it, and you drive off on Nationwide like a move on now, and you lick down somebody or you crash and you write off your car, who have to stand the blame?
I have to take that blame because I did.
Thank you very much. That's why I love what Xavier Williams did Tuesday. She beat and teach.
So let me use the same. Let me use the same analogy.
Left this evening. When I see what Julian Robinson left this evening, he should have said any time that them do reach back in our office, he's going to move that tax from the hand card that lady they name Burke did put on with 2 pieces of board that come in a container and tax the little people who carry 2 market bags on it. You remember that? That's how PMP deal with tax. They never even left the hand card people them.
Carl?
Yes, please.
Is there any good thing, any one good thing in Jamaica's development that you could credit the PMP for?
I could credit them for mash up 40,000 investors, including myself.
I said, is there any one good thing?
Good, Carl.
That can't be a good thing.
I know that can't be a good thing.
Right, so I'm saying,
is there... Put that one in.
Okay, is there any one... All right, is there any one good thing?
You want me to give you a next good one?
Is it actually a good one?
Me give you one bad one again. The piece of highway.
So no good thing. Is that the answer? No, you can't find one good thing.
More man have more girl with phone in
all right, Carl.
I'll give you one more chance. Any one good thing?
Never consider that one the good.
Thank you for the call, Carl.
You know, Ricardo, Carl reminds me of John when I was at that other station. And
that's the one who fuels the propaganda on social media.
Yes. And I remember posing that very question to John. I said, John, when he was talking about the jail.
I mean, to be fair to Carl,
John,
though, I don't think Carl and John are in the same category.
Well, hold on, no.
Just to be fair to Carl.
Can you give me one good thing that you would say this administration has done? And it's the same thing. The same response that Carl gave is the same response that John gave.
But more, I'm be fair to Carl. I wouldn't put him in the same category. Who we have next? But Robbie, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Ricardo, boy. I can't get to these days, man. I get to that side there.
Him gets scarce, not true?
Yeah, man, get big. Him come over, but him come over a big side and now move from a big man into the big evening. You know? Can't get to my time.
Come time ago, what is on your mind?
You what I'm going to know. With Miss Spielberg Williams, I think him do a good job. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But who will address the housing thing with housing trust with them? How people collect people money at $15,000 a week and can't get a house. Who the Prime Minister?
Well, the Prime Minister typically
he's the
speaks
Minister
on
of
those
Housing.
things. Yeah,
he's the Minister of Housing.
Yeah, but one of them address that. I waiting to see one of them address that collect people money and then 600 million and the people who throwing the money can't get a house.
Well, the Prime Minister is going to present next, so we'll see if he touch on anything
Thursday,
regarding the
Next
NHS.
thing I ask before I go, Ricardo, the money that I see Miss Spielberg will leave for the civil servant. You know what percentage the negotiation money will add up to?
As in what she set aside?
Yeah.
Well, remember, it's not final, because they're going to have to have the negotiation, so it may change, but I think it's something like $30-something billion, is my recollection.
I don't remember, but you have a figure there. But what I say, I said from day one, I talk to you about the third time with it. And I think that's a way this government going to have a serious problem with the negotiation. Because I don't think they can face the doctor and the nurse with less than 40 or 50% raise, and the teachers, the nurses, the teachers, and the doctors.
One of the things, I don't know if you were listening yesterday when we were speaking to the fiscal commissioner, and he indicated a very good point that many times when you have these negotiations, the problem that exists is regarding the allowances. What is it? What add-on they should get? And considering that Nigel Clark has, in a sense, standardized that, it should be easier, he says, for just negotiating the salary aspect of it. So let's see if there will be any change, considering that we have really standardized this idea of allowances.
Me talk to Ricardo. I really discussed that to Ricardo about 3 times already. Is that because that's one of the reasons. I think that's one of the good reasons why Mr. Nigel Clark glad to take up that offer, that job there. Because he could never face the nurse them with a 25 or 10 or 15% raise.
All right. Out of time.
All the best.
Again, the head of the St. Elizabeth Police, Coolidge Minto, made an error there. Apologies. Coolidge Minto has been in a car accident and is admitted to hospital. Yeah, he's said to be in stable condition. That's all the time we have. Dennis Barnaby says excellent program. Thank you, Dennis. I see 2 other comments, but yeah, I won't answer. If my answer
I don't even bother opening.
No, I see 2, but if my answer, I'm going to lose the work, and I kind of like your work, so I'm not going to answer.
I didn't even open it today, because I know.
Bugs are disappointed in me, and I don't want to lose a little work, because, yeah. But I don't know. Maybe we should, anyway. Dana Davey, thank you so much. Andrew Glenn Anderson, appreciate you. The news and production team, or editor Carl Powell, my colleagues, the best in the business. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis, wishing for you a wonderful evening.
Good evening.